to the 6, we be in the mix. With that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane by the visit Glen Rock, need crypto told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix. With that rare candy paint job on the whip, who you with?
Okay, we are covering another complicated man on here. I don't know, I didn't plan for it to be like this, but if you cover Roman Polanski and then usually the next week we do something kind of like, oh, it's politics or something like, well, I don't really want to talk about politics right now. And we did on the premium feed. So hop over rarecandy.substack.com. The sale's over. You guys are bad shoppers, but that doesn't mean you can't get access. It's only $5 a month. Anyways, we're covering Lou Reed today. Lou Reed is somebody who has like the specter of him has always haunted me. And I've never given his catalog just a full dive. I'm very wary of like the William Burroughs glamorization of heroin because I find heroin disgusting and ugly. Like even as somebody who enjoyed drugs back in the day, I've never thought the heroin thing was all that cool, and it just seemed gross, and New York and rats and it just never my thing. But I wanted to give his catalog a chance because I was listening to Coney Island Baby and I was like, wow, this is really good. Like, what else does this guy have? I know there's just a secret catalog of just a bunch of albums. Then I saw he was into Tai Chi and I was like, wow, this could be a very fun. Now, when I was just teasing an idea of maybe covering one of his albums or something, I got suggested his autobiography on Audible, just suggested to me. And I think it came out last year. It's by Anthony DeCurtis, and we will be referencing that throughout the episode. And then I walked into a used bookstore after having lunch with my parents, where when I was waiting for my parents, I checked Audible and saw that it was suggested to me. I walked into the used bookstore. It's front faced at the front next to all the, like, you know, my asexual vegetable child, you know, like it was like next to those type of books. And it was the Lou Reed by Anthony DeCurtis. So I'm like, it's telling me something. Like this means we have to cover it. Then I needed a guest. I wasn't sure if Cy was going to be down for this. I've never heard Cy talk about Lou Reed, not once. And nor me, probably. I just had a feeling our guest today goes by Twitter user Organized Meat. He's been on the show before. He's covered a wide range of things. We're going to also he's kind of my unofficial Thomas Pynchon guy. There's a few, but he's there. And you're a huge fan of Velvet Underground and Lou Reed, right?
Yeah, both of them. I've been into them since high school. Found Velvet Underground first, but then delved into the Lou Reed catalog. Not quite as deep as I did for this show. I kind of stopped around the 70s, just heard a few albums, sure. Maybe one later one, but didn't really get into his catalog past like Transformer and a couple other albums.
Yeah, and I'm just picturing you. I mean, is this around the time you had the Kurt Vonnegut tattoo?
Yes. Well,
I love it.
Well,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I was still I got that like right out of high school, so it would have been like,
I like Kurt Vonnegut. I like Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah, I like Kurt Vonnegut. It's just like there was a certain, and it's kind of repellent sometimes because they have Velvet Underground has this like fan base of like South Park goth kid kind of thing happening a little bit. Like they're not goths, but they just conformist. Like it's actually a commentary on this, like postmodern. You can never guess what I like, kind of thing. Don't laugh at anything except the most random thing in the world that they laugh. Like it was always kind of off-putting to me. Plus they were the anti-Beatles kind of in a sense. And anti-Laurel Canyon, and I'm big fans of both of those music scenes. I think that's some of the best work the CIA has ever done. I'm just like, play the hits, guys. Go back to that. We need that again. But I was just thinking, like, I get really mad, and I still was on this deep dive that I somewhat conducted. It's very intimidating, the amount of New York people talking about these two things that we're talking about. But Cy, we've never talked about this guy before, you and me, ever. I don't think there's any recorded conversation or unrecorded conversation of us ever talking about this. But you and I were kind of the same. You were like, oh yeah, solo stuff's pretty cool. VU is kind of like, that's a different thing. Where are you at now?
I think I got in. Yeah, I a little deeper dive, mostly through the 70s stuff. I still need to check out the later stuff. I started with, I like when I was a teen with Transformer, and so loved it and all that, and I was definitely like, this is a little bit oddball, a little different, and then tried Velvet Underground, tried the first album, didn't hate it, but I was just like, what is this, and I just kind of got the vibe. And forgive me that this is like, this is for like the shirts, to wear the shirt, with the banana and stuff.
Misfits, that's how I viewed the Misfits
and
back in the day, was the same way.
Yeah. And then I got in, like, the third VU album is fantastic. I do love it. I don't hate the first two, by any means, but I definitely the third one should be the one that gets pumped. And then I remember hearing Kanye West talk. He like picked every guy, and he's like, Lou Reed's a genius, and so I was like, that got me a little bit back into him too. I was like, let me check this out. That's interesting. But we never talked about him, I don't think. And
and Adam Lehrer would always bring him up on here, and I'm like, I gotta check him out. I was like, I gotta check him out.
He's like, his music is, I love it. It's so, especially when you listen to it all, like binge it, like we've been doing. It's very warm, probably because of the heroin. It's just a very warm, fuzzy feeling, and I love it. I've definitely gained new respect for the man, for sure. And he's actually cool. He ironically, he never like tried that hard. He was just kind of like, whatever, I don't know. He throws off that vibe a little bit, and I love it.
He's an enigma for sure, because he's one of those guys, like how I was talking about earlier, where he's like he's like 3 layers of like insulation to where you'll just never get to the real him, but then somebody finds the real him, and he's like, oh, I'm something else now. Like he's like one of those guys. And it comes through in this biography, which is really, really well done by Anthony DeCurtis. I don't know if you could ever really be his friend, Lou Reed. Like you could he definitely had people he kept around, but like if you were like in the music business, whether as a journalist or anything, he kept you at a distance. Like he kept you at a distance a little bit. He was always around, and like people talked to him all the time, but you get the idea that he kind of couldn't really love people in the industry. His like friends were like Tai Chi people and like random stuff. Like those are the people like, oh, this is like my friend, or a guy that works at a restaurant. Like very much you would never expect me to be friends with this guy. And I sound like I'm hating on him. I'm not. This is just the people have like, to be honest, a lot of people do hate him. Like people who are big fans of his music, like kind of don't like him. If you go on Reddit, any Reddit posts about the Velvet Underground, it's like anti-him a lot of the time. Like, and I'm kind of like, well, okay, and we'll get into that. Like, cause my take of that was like kind of this Warhol construction of a band, not the first iteration of it, but the one that was put out into the world with the banana cover and stuff. That was like kind of not a fake band, but a novelty. Like a little bit of a novelty, in my opinion. Like
it's an art project. Like it's one of Warhol's art projects. And Lou Reed, I think, kind of learned from Warhol in a way. It's like you use people as much as you need them. So Lou Reed was able to be people's best friend for a short amount of time, and then just never talk to them again. Like they're dead to him for no reason. It appears sometimes.
It's crazy. And then like when he died, everyone's like, haven't talked to him in 35 years because we hate each other, but I really miss him. It's like, no, and that's life. I mean, that is life. Like there is like, Prince and Michael Jackson had that type of relationship. Like it's just, he was a competitor. I mean, he loved sports, which is really cool for like the thing about Lou Reed, and we're going to start from the beginning here of his life just after this. But one of my favorite thing about him is he's like this type of New York guy that I'm not sure ever existed, but it's like he's a combination of like 4 New York guys that kind of don't exist anymore, where he's like gay, like just going like wearing leather and just doing like almost like sociopathic, like William Friedkin cruising sex at night. And then also like calling into like WFAN, like Willie Randolph's not a true cleanup hitter. Like doing that in like 1976, and then like Tai Chi in the park. And I'm like, that guy just like doesn't exist anymore. I mean, the combination maybe never did except for Lou Reed, but I laugh about all of that. And he became more and more himself as he got older. He became just like a regular, like love Israel Jewish guy, like in the 90s, and just farm aid, kind of on the nose Democrat politics, like, whereas it's less of an art project. Then he tried to go back to art projects right before he died, and they're all bad. But they're all the Edgar Allan Poe album and Metallica collaboration are two of the worst things I've ever heard.
Okay, well, all right. Well, I agree about one of those.
You like the Poe or the Metallica?
I like the Metallica collab.
Whoa,
I do.
I wanted to. I'm a huge Metallica fan.
I wanted to too, or I didn't want to actually, but I was like, oh my god, he worked with Metallica, and I listened to it, and I thought it was pretty good. Awful.
I just learned that today. I didn't know. I just saw on like when I was researching. Yeah, I was like Metallica. That's cool.
Yes,
dude.
We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode. So he's gone. I mean, it is this audiobook. I listened to the audiobook. I do have a hard copy of it just because I like to double up sometimes. And I had the book itself has cool pictures in the middle of it and stuff. Like, I mean, the guy's one of the most like well photographed people of all time. Extremely photogenic, but also had like Mick Rock and all these weird, creepy Warhol smiling photographers taking pictures of like people laying in their own shit at the factory. Like, kind of like, yeah. He always had people with like skilled people with cameras around him at all times. So it's really cool to see like kind of, and he put out his own photography stuff. And even some photographers have said, like Mick Rock said that he took like the best pictures of him. Like Mick Rock was like, this dude like didn't know shit about like cameras. And I was like perfectly in focus, but also like kind of not in focus in an artful way. Like, this dude was just one of those guys that could pick something up and just be good at it. And even if it's not like good in the traditional sense, it's like, yeah, but I could never duplicate what he did. And that's why he constantly had like virtuosos working around him, because he was a literary guy. He kind of is, in a way. I think he's a much more talented person than him, but he's kind of the response to Jim Morrison in a way, where like, this is a guy that like should have been writing prose. You know what I mean? Like a guy that should have been writing fiction, writing literature, writing poetry and stuff. But he found like up until 1960, that straight up like doesn't exist, the type of music that was happening. But he has this tether to the doo-wop and like rock and roll thing that saves him every time he's going too far. He has that like just that ability to go into like, I recognize what that could be. That's like a real song now.
Like a tether.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah, it's like a safeguard against like the avant-garde, to be honest. Like, because sometimes when stuff goes too quote unquote avant-garde, I tune out a lot of times. It's just
he's weird. He's weirdly has like a side of him that's not avant-garde too at all. That's the weird thing. Yeah. It's very, I think that maybe a lot of that transferred over from the Velvet Underground stuff, which, like, and I'm not saying this with any hate. It could be seen as kind of like a try hard kind of a thing, with not with Lou. I mean, just that whole project, right? And not hating. That's just what you had to do back then, especially when you're coming out with when the Beatles are peaking, and you got to like differentiate yourself from that. That's a big part of it, I think. And someone like him, has to, I don't know. You can't. I like that he just kind of had this very flat line. The way I'm saying this sounds like a bad thing, but it's not. Like
I know that's how this whole episode's gonna be.
Exactly. Very even keel kind of a artist. Very straight and narrow, like hitting straight down the fairway a lot of times. Yeah, which is weird. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, his lyrics. Yeah. With the Velvets, it was a little bit more like he did try to make songs that were like beautiful, like lyrics that had like a little more poetry to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, later on he kind of found that more like raw, I'm just gonna like tell you a story, like just how an average normal person would tell you a story. And there wasn't a lot of that, like, avant-garde stuff in the Velvet Underground.
Yeah. So who the hell is he, right? This is a very interesting childhood. Again, you can't really do a puff piece on Lou Reed because you're lying if you do it. So I'm gonna say a lot of it you kind of have to know a few junkies in your life to understand what's being said sometimes and what's actually happening versus what they're telling people. So he had an interesting childhood. He's a Jewish guy from New York. Coney Island, I think the Coney Island area. And he, working class Jewish family back then, probably even still to this day, there's like a few professions they want you to be: doctor, lawyer, stuff like that. And he's clearly not going to be either of those things, but he is smart enough to be. He's a very smart guy, very well read. And he's a talented guy. So to his parents, they're just like, yeah, but you're like gay. Like you're being gay right now. Like quite literally, like, he contracted hepatitis from intravenous drug use before he turned 18. Like this dude was like a straight up junkie from like his teenage years to the 80s. And he it got to the point where his parents and his mom deeply regrets it, and I get a feeling his dad did, though I'm not sure his dad ever actually said that he did. They, for being gay, they put him in electric shock therapy, and it like zapped his brain basically. And in his words, he was going to be writing novels, literature, which not super hard to believe that would have been the case. But he's like, my memory is just not that good. Like I can't write like long form. He's like, I get short spurts of stuff now. And again, is it all from that? I don't know. Is it possibly because you're a junkie too? I don't know. Like it's tough to like really find a root cause for a lot of stuff. But all I know is if my parents Clockwork Oranged me when I was a kid, I'd be pissed. I would be pissed. But also, like, it kind of sounds like his parents were not that bad other than that. But like, I don't know. I don't know how you felt about that Organized Me, because I was like, kind of like, they don't seem that bad except for that,
Yeah. No, I mean, his dad seemed bad, but from what I gathered from the autobiography or the biography, it was like there was some other stuff wrong with him just besides being gay. Sure. So Lou Reed pretty much says like, oh, he did this because I was gay. But I don't know. He could have just been pinning that on his father.
The straw that broke the camel's back. We'll say it's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. Okay. And if it was, okay, his father wasn't a good father, but his mother was just kind of blamed for going along with it. And back then, I don't know, she was probably a little mentally disturbed also. Doesn't seem like he came from the most like well-functioning family. So, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
but it really does seem like Lou just really can't get past that one point with his father, like for the rest of his life.
Yeah. And it's like pretty heartbreaking. However, like that, again, am I a proponent of this? No, that was the party line back then. Like was like, yeah, electric shock therapy and lobotomies. That's like what you did. That was the thing. Like they had that thing out to the ocean where they would say for the women, they would just get lobotomized and they'd just be staring at the ocean. Basically, that was like the phrase for it. And then if your son, like I said, it's definitely because he's gay. Like definitely back then, like a traditional Jewish family back then is not going to want their gay son, like not going to want their son to be gay in the 50s or something. Like that's not a good thing to them, but he's gay, junkie, pulling like just like a spaz. Like they're kind of like, this is very much in these communities where it's like it's kind of embarrassing on all fronts for your parents. And again, I'm not making an excuse for it. It's just like you can see why his parents were like, we have to do something because this is insane. Like this guy is insane. And to be fair, I think he followed the best career path for a guy that's insane. Like and I don't know how insane he actually is, but his childhood he was like probably showing signs of like pure insanity.
What happens without the shock therapy? What do we get? It begs the question, right?
Novels. I honestly think
novel. Yeah.
So he goes to Syracuse, University of Syracuse, good broadcast school. Good. He does college radio. Shout out It's a fraternity, you guys, hey, brotherhood. College radio. While he's at Syracuse, he meets some friends there. That is where they're basically trying to create hit songs, and they would back in the 50s, they'd be like, "Do the ostrich." That would be like a dance song, and I think that was one of the songs they came up with. And he'd be like, again, heavy-handed iron, almost like heavy with the irony, but like, hey, what if it does pop off? What if we do just get a quick groove and everybody does the ostrich dance? Then I'm a star.
Just kidding, unless,
just kidding. And then I'll pretend I hate that I made the ostrich song, and then there's the anti-ostrich song that I will then, this guy's constantly, his brain's going a million directions. No electric pulse could take that out of him. And he meets a few friends there, including Sterling Morrison at Syracuse, and then Sterling Morrison is the lead guitarist for Velvet Underground. They later meet John Cale through that, but there's also another huge person in his life named Delmore Schwartz at this time. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that every interview Lou Reed would do, he didn't want to talk about anything, but if you were able to bring up Delmore Schwartz, you were able to get a good interview out of him after that, usually, because it was just this it's like, if you talk to Norm Macdonald, he might not want to talk to you sometimes, but if you start talking about random sports stuff with Norm Macdonald, you would unlock him, and then he would start talking about whatever, and he'd be in kind of in earnesty, in a sense, that was your way in with him. But Delmore Schwartz, I actually wanted to read. I know he had a lot of short stuff, and I did read a couple of his or one of his short stories, and it's escaping me right now. Let me see if it's his most famous short work, if I'm not mistaken, and I have it pulled up right here. It is called "In Dreams Begin Responsibility," and this begin responsibilities, I should say, by Delmore Schwartz, who is his professor in literature at Syracuse after a while. But Delmore Schwartz had a career, not a famous novelist, kind of similar to Reed, never got the actual fame that he probably was secretly looking for, but then made a career of pretending he didn't want the fame a lot of times. So Delmore Schwartz, I'm going to read the first two paragraphs of his short story, and I'm going to try to do it in Reed's voice. And it sounds like what you would see the seeds planted for Lou Reed storytelling. So I think the year is 1909. I feel as if I were in a motion picture theater, the long arm of the light crossing the darkness and spinning, my eyes fixed on the screen. This is a silent picture, as if an old biograph one, in which the actors are dressed in ridiculous old-fashioned clothes, and one flash succeeds with another with sudden jumps. The actors, too, seem to jump about and walk too fast. The shots themselves are full of dots and rays, as if it were raining when the picture was photographed. The light is bad. It is Sunday afternoon, June 12th, 1909, and my father is walking down the quiet streets of Brooklyn, on his way to visit my mother. His clothes are newly pressed, and his tie is too tight in his high collar. He jingles the coins in his pockets, thinking of the witty things he will say. I feel as if I had by now relaxed entirely in the soft darkness of the theater. The organist peels out of the obvious and approximate emotions on which the audience rocks unknowingly. I am anonymous. I have forgotten myself. It is always so when one goes to the movies. It is, as they say, a drug. So this is 1937, Delmore Schwartz, and it's Reed's biggest literary influence along with Hubert Selby. But he had a personal relationship with Delmore Schwartz, and he kind of had a more of a professional relationship as he interviewed Hubert Selby later. And you basically take that style of observation, and this story is about a child who has a bad childhood, parents' lives presume that we end poorly and stuff, and the child is watching them meet, and that's the ultimate horror to the child, is watching his parents meet and fall in love rather than his parents' divorce or parents' death. We don't know what happened to his parents. The story ends with the usher of the movie theater, because they tell him he keeps trying to stop his parents from meeting, yelling at the screen. I think he's a white guy, but he's yelling at the screen and all that. But I don't know. But to be original,
you don't know what type of movie theater it was.
It was 1937. Probably not. Yeah, but he's yelling at the screen, and at the end of the day, the usher is like, "You have your whole life ahead of you, and you want to spend it like this." It's basically pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of story. Like, stop wallowing in your misery. You're like, just because your parents ended this way doesn't mean you will. And it's a very, very good story. But you take that first two paragraphs and then put it in with his most famous song, like "Take a Walk on the Wild Side." Instead of talking about two 1909 Brooklyn people. You're talking about like trannies, you know? And
Yeah.
it's just you can use the same style, that observational style, kind of licking the pencil and writing the notepad while you're just watching, you know, and partaking. He has like a Hunter S. Thompson quality to him too, where he's like partaking in all of it, but also observing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I found the Delmore Schwartz thing pretty fascinating and kind of a way in to
that's Syracuse too. That's it.
Again, we used to have cool schools, dude. Like college is sick, dude. Like you would just have like a drunk ass like suicidal failed literature professor that would just like party with you and stuff, like Animal House and all that, and then like you could just bounce ideas off him and amazing. Gosh.
No, I mean, it seemed like just the way he was describing his relationship with them, where they'd go out drinking and go to parties and stuff like that. It was just like, I don't know how many people have that relationship with professors nowadays. You know?
Not anymore. None nowadays with social media and stuff. I doubt that even exists at all. Yeah, I mean, it's so like born. You have to do like born identity style meetups, like with your students. And stuff, probably. So
get those videos where they like catch you hanging out with a 20-year-old, you know, that's like what was that thing that happened?
Yeah, Project Veritas.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just University of Syracuse professor Delmore Schwartz.
Yeah, they just drop out of a tree and land on you.
Yes, that Pfizer is So you know, he like I said, he meets John Cale along with Sterling Morris in this scene. Originally they have another drummer that I'm forgetting what his name is. That person ends up becoming Maureen Mo Tucker, who had her own long career in all of this. And they just start jamming. They start jamming, playing around in the New York scene, doing drugs and stuff. And eventually, when you're a good-looking, strapping, drug-addicted, desperate white rock guy who loves art, there's a guy named Andy Warhol that'll come find you. And Warhol finds a Warhol, and he said, dude, Andy Warhol is like perfect when he sees Lou Reed. Like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me as a straight Catholic man. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I love that. The Andy Warhol was just a straight Catholic guy. Like he did go to church regularly and stuff. And it's not to say he wasn't, but I just laughed that's how he like marketed himself.
Yeah.
But we go to like, you know, through the making of all the Velvet Underground albums, to the insertion of Nico into the band, which is Warhol's first massive thing. He tried to make it a multimedia stuff with like the project. If you ever watch Midnight Cowboy, the movie where John Voight and Dustin Hoffman go to like this New York party, and there's just like projection of like avant-garde stuff on the wall during the party.
Go-go dancers and everything.
Yeah, all that stuff. You just picture all that happening, but with way more drugs and sex. Like way more. It was the anti-Laurel Canyon. Which I'll put it this way, I know a lot about Laurel Canyon. I know a lot about it. I know all the dirty stuff, actually. I'd rather be there.
Oh, yeah, LA parties over New York parties.
I'd rather be at Cielo Drive, dude. That night. That night. I'd rather be there. Like, dude, I'll take on a couple chicks and a fucking Tex Watson, dude. Like, as opposed to like, so you're either there or you're like passing out, like foaming out the mouth with God knows what laying next to you, what you did. You see like a junkie laying in his own shit, like then like a naked weird wrestler next to you or something, ironically, and then like some weird Knox Harrington guy like taking pictures of you and stuff. Like, nope, I don't want it. I don't want it. Laurel Canyon, you could at least look outside and be like, God, look at those mountains, dude.
Even as Manson's coming in to murder you, you know, it doesn't matter.
It would be funny to see him like there, you know, like if you could just transport Lou Reed into like Laurel Canyon, because he would like kind of buy in, kind of not.
He must have gone there at some point, just like to visit for it. I mean,
he really didn't leave New York that much. Like I know he toured. He went to San Francisco to record with like Metallica, but there was no other part of like that book talking about him going to like because I was thinking in the biography there was going to be some like, and then he went out west for the first time, and I was like, ooh, what happened out there? Nothing. Like it just
I knew he hated like Frank Zappa at first, so he had that.
Me too.
Frank Zappa was Laurel Canyon based. right? Like
I hate
Right.
Frank Zappa. I fucking hate Frank, and not even for like the Moonbeam like memoirs either. Like that's bad. But if your music was good, I'd be like, oh wow, how crazy, like that all that happened. But I'm just like, wait, you did that and you make like my penis hurts like music, like, and then shred like just like fucking. I mean, it's all, I get it. It's like if you know about music, if you're like super into like time signatures and stuff, he's just like, oh, Frank Zappa. I can't stand it.
I was never bought into the Zappa thing, but at the same time, I'm never confident to fully discard it because the most insane musicians of all time were like, this is the, like Jimi Hendrix is like, no, dude, this is the guy, right? It's
Bill
crazy.
Hader. I just watched Bill Hader on Amoeba Records, What's in My Bag, and he's like, Zappa, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it's wildly misogynist, but I love like all rock was. That's not like rock until 2009 was highly misogynist. And then
also
now we don't
Steve
have rock
Vai.
anymore.
It's like Steve Vai. Didn't he put Steve Vai on too as like
Yeah.
that's cool. So yeah, there's something. He's load bearing, he's like a load bearing figure for sure, but much like Velvet Underground, but
much like Lou Reed, load bearing. During this time too, like during the Velvet Underground stuff, like it's just constant like girls, guys, holes, just like arbitrary like J.G. Ballard sex happening, like that you just figure like isn't necessarily like erotic in any way. It's just like an expression and stuff that all this
it's like Camille Paglia at Yale or something.
Yeah, a guy next to you is drawing, and you look and he's not even drawing you, but he's like watching you have sex. And you're like, it's just something's happening there that's very off. And but I will say I came back to listen to the Velvet Underground. And of course, what's funny is when Warhol puts Nico in the band, they're all like, "Dude, come on!" Like, and because she's a supermodel, kind of like the anti of what they wanted to do. But of course, Warhol would be like, "Wouldn't it be so ironic if we had like a woman who sounded deaf and a deaf German woman and in this band?"
But she's beautiful. He knows like there's this.
Exactly.
It's an artwork, So he had to have. There's the guy beauty he liked, but he needed to have that feminine energy too.
Yeah, it's classic straight Catholic guy thing to do. When you do that to a rock band, it's what you do. I mean, I have to stop myself from doing it all the time. And but Nico is in the band. And I will say, like, I came back to it. I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. Like, this is pretty good. There's times they lose me. I don't like epic feedback songs at all. Like, I don't even like when Jimi Hendrix does it. Like when the guitar next to the like that shit does not do it for me. I don't like noise. I don't like any of that stuff. I know a lot of people that listen to this show love that stuff. So yeah, obviously they're probably all big Velvet Underground. But when they just get in like a groove and just a nice pocket and make like a rock song, or like a super acided out, like in my opinion, sounding pretty Laurel Canyon-y at times, I really, really like it. And it's no shock that Reed's involved like heavy on the stuff I love for Velvet Underground.
So I take it you're not a fan of Heroin or Black Angel Death Song on that.
No, I mean, I am a fan. Heroin's good because I mean, look, I don't like glamorizing heroin and stuff, but like that's a good Lou Reed song. I mean, it's good. It's I like again. It's what I don't like is like that really like, let's make this sound bad intentionally. Like just that kind of like everything's crunched together. Like
the second album is
the second White Light, White Heat is the one where I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And there's a couple good songs on there too, but like where you like the drums don't punch and you're like, well, this doesn't really rock. And they're like, well, that's what you want it to do. Why would we do what you wanted it to do? I'm like, I don't know. It's just there's this like problem with it. But I like all the normie Velvet Underground songs. I like all of the like. I would be the most basic bitch Velvet Underground fan. Like I like Femme Fatale. I like Heroin. I love Venus and Furs. Awesome. There's a lot of Roman Polanski. As far as I know, Lou Reed wasn't doing Roman Polanski stuff, but whatever. But he Venus and Furs was a Polanski movie, a very bad one, starring his wife Emmanuelle Seigner. It's based off a novel and stuff. But then also when Berlin was we're kind of like redeployed in 2006 and Reed was performing it entirely in front of like massive crowds of celebrities, there was Andy Warhol multimedia projection screens of Emmanuel Seigner, Roman Polanski's wife, all over it. That's kind of interesting how that type of stuff pops up. But I love like the normie Velvet Underground stuff. Waiting for the Man's great. I mean, it's great. I like that he switches between like gay and straight all the time in his songs and changes guys into girls. Like, that's cool. If you do that now, I don't find it very impressive. But back then, that's pretty cool to do.
Yeah, it was different. Had a different connotation back then. You know, it was a different scene.
Yeah. So, well, take me back to when you first were in high school and you're just like, this shit blew my mind. Because I was not there. That's just not the type of person I was in high school. I was completely different. So I just mean, like, to you, I feel like I'm just now able to appreciate it because I know so much about, you know, Lou Reed now and stuff. So like, what was it when you turned on? What was the song? What was the song that you were like, whoa?
It was definitely the Velvet Underground and Nico album.
Yeah.
And like Heroin was like the big song. So that was like when I got the CD, I put that one on first.
Okay.
Right. Like I just skipped to that. And I remember, I was into like a lot of like feedbacky, kind of, like I was into Sonic Youth and like a lot of like sort of noise bands.
Sure.
So, you know, people were like, oh yeah, Velvet Underground, you should try this out. And again, like it just, Heroin, like all those songs, Black Angel, Death Song, European Sun, like those, like that's what turned me on to the Velvet Underground. And then I think Loaded was the next one I got, which is my second favorite Velvet Underground album.
That's 1973. That's the
earlier.
Or no, is it?
Yeah.
No, it's the last one.
It's okay. Interesting.
It's
that's the one with Sweet Jane. Yeah.
And then I was into that, and like I've always been into classic rock, so the whole, you know, like kind of noise rock and classic rock, it kind of really, like, it was right there in the Velvet Underground. So that's what like really got me into them.
Yeah, and what got me is honestly getting back into reading the last few years has really contextualized like what Reed's doing, what Velvet Underground's doing, but particularly what Reed's doing. Like waiting for the Man, like it's kind of like it kind of has this like Beatles like Rubber Soul quality to it, like Drive My Car kind of like kind of silliness to like the groove to it, but also you know, it's a guy sitting around fiending, like waiting for the guy to get there to sell him some heroin. He's at $26, which is such a junky amount of money to have on you. Like I don't have 30. I know we agreed on 30, but I needed $4 for something. You know, so I owed somebody. Or it's like
you do 25, but can you throw in just $1 worth more? Because I need more, you know. Like.
And that's the Tao of Lou Reed, right? Where it's like, okay, I had $30, but I owed a guy $4 because I bought $4 of heroin when I was really fiending, and then which is nothing usually. Probably fucked the guy, and then I could give 25, but like let's see if I could get the extra one for 26. And it's like, oh, that's but again, if you know anybody I've never been like a true junkie before, thank God, but I know plenty of them, and it's that's the way they think. And he was talking about like he wanted the rhythm of the song to be like your heart pounding, just like your heart just like palpitating really, really fast. I love that he stayed with that song forever. He never really liked to perform a lot of his old stuff, but he knew he kind of had to whenever he had like a big venue. So if you watch him at like the Capitol Theater in '84, he makes these really cool like '80s funky versions of like Velvet Underground songs. I love them. I'm like, this is great. That's great. Yeah. It's because he has his bass player in the '80s. Oh gosh, what is it? Something Saunders. He is great. The guy's awesome. He's always had great bass players in his whatever he's been doing. But it's really fun to see him constantly just take that. David Bowie covered it around the Transformer era when he would go on his super avant-garde like Bowie glam rock tours and stuff. And you understand the influence. And what I was getting at with like the literary and film kind of stuff is I think he is that medium truly, right? Because music I think is kind of in between film and books a little bit. Like it's a secret third thing, but it's also kind of halfway in between the two. I don't really know how to explain that, but it just feels that way to me. And you can see this being the intro to like so many movies. I'm sure it is. To be honest, I don't know enough if it is or not, but you can see it like you can see it being the first paragraph of a story, like the song. Like you can see it, like, or you can see him writing short fiction as this is happening, you know, kind of auto fiction in a way, but still having fun, like having these characters and writing with your female voice. You know, even if you don't dress up in wigs or like a girl and stuff, you definitely know people that do, but you kind of act like them a little bit, and you make characters out of them and stuff, and all these weird people that you see at the factory. I mean, you might as well make something out of that, what I appear to be as a hellhole.
Yeah, no, there was like, that was also kind of one of the things that I liked about like Lou Reed and Velvet Underground, is like there were lots of like characters in their songs,
Right.
like, and it reminded me of like songs that like I was listening to when I found out about them. There was like, you know, the Jim Carroll band, like All My Friends That Died, and it's just like a list of like stories of how people died, and that Butthole Surfer song Pepper, that's kind of just this like, you know, these different verses about these characters, like gives them names, where they're from, like kind of this like very compact short story about like a brief scene that says something about their characters. And so yeah, it was like kind of novel like in that. So
Yeah,
I mean, that also attracted me, because like anytime you do something like that, like I'm immediately more drawn in, like lyrically.
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, and it's funny, Lou Reed, when he performed at the White House in the 90s, I want to say, when Clinton was in, Kurt Vonnegut in attendance. So that's just you, dude. Like, it was, I mean, I know you're probably not a big Bill Clinton guy, but other than that, yeah. Other than that, those two dudes were there. That's funny. It's funny how that happens. And but yeah, he. So yeah, it was. I do like it. Like, I do like it. I like a few. Like Sister Ray, I think is great. I think that's a great song. I think that's an epic. I think that's, to me, I think I think Reed took all the bullshit out of that and perfected it on later work, in my opinion. That's I think it's more of a starting phase, and I kind of get frustrated that it wasn't really until he died that a lot of people really explored his like catalog the way they do the Velvet Underground catalog. But when I listen to it, I'm like, that's the best part, is him. So wouldn't you want? I like John Cale, and John Cale had a great career after this. I think he was a lot of post punk. Like, he was a producer on a lot of like post punk stuff, if I'm not mistaken. I think
amazing solo albums too.
Are they good? I haven't listened.
Good. His and Mo Tucker's solo albums are very good.
You like the Mo Tucker stuff?
Yes.
I haven't tried. I know a lot of people do. My cousin loves her. Like, I listened. And I need to, there's a few that I like. I was like, oh, okay, there's something there. Like, there's a couple. I need to listen to some more. But I know a lot of people that like the Mo Tucker solo work. So, but I haven't listened to any John Cale. I haven't listened to any John Cale solo stuff. But I would like to give it I'd like to give it a go. Naturally, you can tell this band's gonna break up. This is not people. They're the anti-Beatles. But one thing the Beatles did was they stayed together for 10 years, and people say it was too soon, but it's hard to be at the top for 10 years and like not want to kill each other. And they did want to kill each other a few times, but you know, the Velvet Underground was 5 years of just like twisted, like heroin sex dungeon parties. And, you know, what's funny about this is people associate Reed with heroin because, well, he has a song called Heroin, and his voice nods off sometimes like he's on heroin. From what I get is he shot heroin for sure, but he was typically into uppers, and like methamphetamines and speed was kind of more of his drug of choice, which makes sense if you're trying to be bisexual and like have sex all the time. That makes a lot more sense than heroin, because that was, in my opinion, I was like, heroin, you can't be fucking the way he did if you're on heroin. Like, I mean, maybe you can. Some people might be built different, and if anyone could, it'd be him, I guess. But for the most part, like, I think his true addiction was speed and alcohol. From what I gathered from that biography, but everyone makes it like a big point to like say it was this, it was that. I think he did everything. I think he did literally what was in front of him. And why not at that point? Because otherwise you're just in a dungeon sober, like a weird dungeon factory Andy Warhol thing sober. Sounds terrible. Sounds awful. So
designated driver for the Warhol parties.
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they probably wouldn't trust you. They probably think you were like a fed. No. But they probably like make the driver do acid. Yeah. They after a while, the Warhol gets fired from the band, and he's shocked that they don't want to deal with him anymore. just a very masculine gasp he lets out, and
Yeah.
he
I mean, you could see the egos with Warhol
Yeah.
and Lou Reed. That's not going to work.
Never gonna happen. Again, this is not a Velvet Underground podcast. You guys, if you want, there's a lot of Velvet Underground content out there. Everybody talks about them, like anybody who loves the stuff, so it's out there. I think we need to give Lou his time. Any last thoughts about Velvet Underground?
No.
Yeah, I like it. It's fine. Like I do. I can consider myself and say I like it. I'm glad I got into it now, because I kind of had an aversion to it, and I thought, so challenge accepted. I do like more Velvet Underground than I don't. But now we start a great music catalog, which is Lou Reed's solo stuff. He really the first major thing that comes out by Lou Reed. Now, he was not a commercial success. A lot of people retcon him as like this guy who was really famous, like Bruce Springsteen or like Mick Jagger or something. He was famous if you knew about him, but he was not a household name. It just wasn't. And for good reason. I mean, what he made was not really mainstream music a lot of times. It was not meant for a wide audience, but it was meant for a diehard audience. There's a quote from Brian Eno that I love about the Velvet Underground, especially the first Velvet Underground album, which didn't sell a lot at all. But Brian Eno said, yeah, it might not have sold a lot, but I bet everybody who bought a copy started a band.
Yeah.
It's probably true. Like, it's probably true. I mean,
Bowie,
included.
Yeah, load bearing. It's like
the Bowie, the influence on. It's funny. There's an interesting dichotomy between Reed and Bowie, because clearly he was there first. Reed with Velvet Underground was there first, and Bowie's never shy about like praising somebody. He's never like, oh, I didn't know that. You think I listened to that, but I actually came up with that on myself.
Yeah,
he
like
never
Prince
does.
Like Prince does. Yeah,
like every other artist does. Like it's really annoying. Like sometimes when they do that, it's like, dude, nobody's gonna get mad that you like the band that everybody likes, like that happened before you, but Bowie comes into the picture here, and he is tapped on by Lou Reed to produce his album Transformer, which is funny because Bowie is just starting to see mainstream success himself. He was fledgling in the late 60s. We've covered him a lot on here and on other shows, but he was fledgling, but they kind of had a similar sound to each other, and Transformer absolutely sounds like a Bowie album. But with Reed, and Reed does things Bowie can't do, but he also, his vocals sound oddly Bowie-ish at times. Like he kind of like, and the weird harmonizing in the dun 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 satellite of love, that is like a Bowie song to me. Like an old school Head in the Clouds, Starman's David Bowie song at the time. But Transformers an excellent album. And they were seen. There's always these. They were seen during the recording of it, and during the times like walking around like holding hands and like kissing each other all the time. And people were like, they're just performing. I'm like, no, they're having sex. I just want you guys to know that they're both high on methamphetamines. They're having sex. Like, they might be doing it, like they might be trolling in public a little bit about it, but they make no mistake, they are having sex with each other.
No, I mean, it's known about Bowie and Mick Jagger, like it's publicly acknowledged. So, I mean, I think it's safe to assume, like, come on.
There was a documentary, kind of like a BBC kind of just a nice like hour-long documentary remembering Reed, where Boy George is in it a lot. And Boy George you could imagine him at the time like liking a lot of this stuff probably. And he's just like, oh, everybody came up with so many rumors about Mick Jagger and so having sex and stuff. And I'm like, well, you don't believe those? Like, you're Boy George. Yeah. Well, then what's your deal then? Yeah, I don't. But yeah, it's pretty funny. But the album's great. The live versions of a lot of those songs are fantastic. Reed's kind of like, his live show at that time is some late Velvet stuff and Transformer, basically, with an awesome band. There's a show from 1973. It's on YouTube and stuff. But Vicious live, Sweet Jane live from that era. It's just incredible. And Sai, you said that was the first one you had ever heard from him, right?
Yeah, I definitely. And also they play these on like Bay Area radio and stuff too.
Sure.
And Perfect Day is one of my favorite songs.
It's a great song.
Man, so good.
The
Just on
first-
the beat, Nicholas, and that.
The Tai Chi performance with Master Ren, dude, on Letterman,
Yeah.
where Master Ren's on stage and he's playing Perfect Day when he's like, Reed's probably like 63 years old. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Dude, that's just such a nice, like, after all the stuff we're about to talk about happening, like, that's such a great end, is to just be doing Tai Chi.
Yeah.
And and jamming your old stuff without hating it, love it.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, you guys know I'm into this stuff, and it's like not as nearly as much as I should be too. But you fry your nervous system for several decades. There's like one option left, and that's to do Tai Chi when you're it's like there's like you're either doing that or you're dying. It's
what do Chinese people stir fry their nervous system?
All the Costco seed oils, dude. 5-gallon drum.
Oh God, can you imagine if somebody right now is like, "Cool, Lou Reed podcast." Like, I want Lou Reed is a LGBTQ icon. I'll love to listen to this. You hear about stir frying.
We're talking. We need to get mainland China onto the avocado oil, guy. It's like
the diabetes might go down. The diabetes rates might go down. But yeah, I love. I do love Transformer. It is great. Silly title too. Transformer, transvestite at the time, transsexual at the time.
Yeah.
He always had songs about surgery, girls getting surgeries and stuff. And I don't get the idea it was breast augmentation. Maybe in a way, but yeah, just there's a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of playing around. And what I find funny is, like, make no mistake, Lou Reed was like Democrat left. I mean, I'm not trying to paint him as this, but I have a feeling he's so much of a contrarian that it's kind of hard to see him like getting super into it now if he was around. Like,
you can't compare back then and now. Like,
he would hate. Well, he would hate the opposition to it for sure. Like, he would hate the opposition. He would like hate like daily. Can you imagine? He'd be like, right now, if he was alive, he'd be like trying to debate like Matt Walsh. Like, he for sure would be. Like, but he would still be like, wouldn't find like ContraPoints cool. You know what I mean? Like, because he was tapped into like modern media. He stayed like obsessed with like modern media. So I just like thinking about that. I just like thinking, because it's clearly something different back then. The taboo nature of it made it cool to them because it was crazy people doing this stuff. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah. Would they like this to be main? Some would say yes, some would say no. It's just kind of it. You can't deny that it loses its edge when you have like Kamala Harris talking about it or something. In like the 2024 election, or it's just
exactly.
I don't know. It's just different. I don't know.
I mean, I think Lou acknowledged that a little bit, like later on in his career, he sort of made a turn from that. But I don't know.
How so did that?
Well, I guess we'll get it's just once we get into his relationship with Rachel, with trans, and after that he was like, no more. I think he said no more of that junky faggot shit. And then he's like, I'm going to be a sober straight guy.
There's a chapter in the biography called "Faggot Junkie." In the autobiography, it's funny because he's got a lot of that Burroughs like kind of like self-hate kind of situation happening, and he used to also say that he was like gay, but so did David Bowie at the time. It was a thing where it was just like shock factor. It was like being like Limp Bizkit back then, like it was just like, what are these kids doing? They're gay, like it was just I want to piss off the 53-year-old person watching this show, right? Dick Cavett show right now or something. That was their goal there. But they also were having sex with men. Like, there's just that's the way it was happening. It was any which way. Some would classify that as pansexual now, as just doing all of that stuff. I don't think he'd want a term applied to it. The whole idea to him was no terms. The whole idea was just like, no, this is just what I do, and I just go off of vibes and do what I want to do and stuff. Like, that was there was a freedom of the taboo for him. Like the taboo gave him freedom, I think, is kind of how he operated in his early years. I don't know, just tough to say, because he did mellow out once AIDS happened. He was like, oh, I'm not gay anymore. But he was like, actually, I love women with short haircuts instead. Actually, it's my favorite thing. Always been my favorite. And but he Transformer is an awesome album. Love pretty much every song on there. I'm Satellite of Love is one of my favorite, and Vicious. Those are probably my two too favorite on there, but it's
Same.
Mick Ronson deserves a shout out for that too. That was Bowie's kind of right hand man at the time. Great guitar player, great musical arranger, great composer. But then what's funny about it is that Reed develops this. He sees it as like an alpha thing, and you see this with a lot of people online right now, like and stuff, where they don't want to be seen loving something or drawing inspiration from something because that's a sign of weakness a lot of times. And a lot of people would be praising David Bowie for his work on Transformer, and Lou Reed would go, well, he didn't. I mean, did he do everything? Like, I mean, I did so much of it, and they're like, well, no one's saying you didn't. It's a really well-produced album by Bowie and Mick Ronson. And he's like, well, yeah, but like, you don't know like what I was in there doing. It's like, yeah, but you sought out David Bowie to produce your album. You knew he was going to do something good for your album. And then after that, but at the time he's developing a reputation as a really interesting guy who Andy Warhol made famous. Again, this is not my words. This is just how he's probably viewed. Andy Warhol made him famous, and then David Bowie produced his first solo album. So can this guy do anything on his own? Yeah. And he develops kind of an inferiority complex about that. And luckily he does do some stuff not on his own, but without the household name producer after that. And I think the Berlin album, unfortunately, it's a horrible time for him personally and commercially because it's about your relationship spiraling. He marries his first wife at the time. I get a kick out of his first wife acting like she was some like staying home knitting all night. Like she was like the biography, it's all like, oh, and he would just come home just blackout drunk. And I just, yeah, but what were you, like, you weren't doing anything. Like you're with Lou Reed. Like
yeah,
you're like and a lot of the album the Berlin album divulges all these personal details about her, but apparently she's not like, it's so untrue. I'm like, maybe some of it is, but like you guys had a junky relationship. Like it is what it is. I think,
no, I mean there was definitely like he wasn't the only one doing things.
No,
like it sounds like
I'm gonna stay with this guy for 5 years. Hopefully he changes. Like it's
this junkie asshole. Like I mean he's like an asshole to everyone. He's around.
Are they ever single though? Have you ever met a single junkie asshole? No, they always have a girlfriend. They always do. Yeah. You said it on one of your last episodes about Lou Reed. Like, yeah, he's like totally like strung out on drugs the entire time. Mm-hmm. He's a total asshole, and like, but with hepatitis C, that's sexually transmittable, right, and the women are like, I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Can't wait and then and then men too are like, yeah, me too. When you're done with her, me too.
Yeah,
it's like I can't get enough of it. And it's just like, it's kind of like that meme of like, I think it's like the animated black people meme where like it's the guy with that's that cartoon where it's like the jock walking with the girl and the nerd's like, you know what I mean? And it's like with Lou Reed, but I just picture like Lou Reed being in there and stuff. It's like the guy was just never short of options whatsoever. I mean, he's a good looking guy, talented guy, charismatic. So I get it. I get it. But it's just funny. It's like the guy can like pause load you at any time and then he hit you. And they're like, yeah, sounds good. So Berlin, in my opinion, is a masterpiece of an album. I think it is. The problem it suffers from, you understand why it's not commercially viable. There's no single you're going to play. What are you going to play on the radio? I mean, maybe a couple songs on some like independent college radio station. Like maybe you could play some stuff, but for the most part, it's just like, it's just a big concept album. It's kind of the downward spiral before the downward spiral. I would say like, and I think it's immaculately produced. I think the piano sections on it really carry the album and keep you tethered to like the world. The tether is very important for me when I enjoy Lou Reed music. And what does everybody think of this? I think it's great.
I love this album. I mean, I think if there were to be singles, I think Lady Day.
That's a great song. Yeah, you're right.
And The Kids, even though The Kids is one of the most heartbreaking songs he's written. Like, they're taking the kids away is the first line. And it's just like, that's a story in itself.
And then 3 minutes of kids screaming for their mother, like three, and it's the producer's kids. The producer brought the kids in and like tried to get them really sad so they would record. and
great.
like, and he's like,
Yeah.
mommy, like that, and it's like, it's so sad. It's
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
yeah.
that's those. So I love those two, and I guess like Caroline Says and The Bed are other standouts. But yeah, just a great album, and I like the way it sounds. But you know what? There was a version he did the 2006. It was from that
Right.
2006 tour live. He released a album of that, like the complete album, and that to me it sounds better on that recording.
I'd like to hear
Like,
that. I wouldn't disagree with you.
Because he kind of reimagines like the songs a little bit, or kind of like there's something different about him.
Yeah.
He makes them sound different, especially later on in his career when he learned a little bit more about like actually how to play the guitar.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, that recording I would suggest to anyone who like also like wants to get into Berlin, because it's just the sound of this album. I mean, it doesn't sound like Transformer at all. Transformer was straight up Bowie, Mark Ronson guitar. Like you can totally tell it was like a Bowie style album. And this, for anyone who is expecting something like that, I can imagine why it didn't hit.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that red candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, can't do shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, so what happened was he's coming off relatively speaking, for what he was doing, Transformer was a hit. I don't want to say it's like platinum. I don't think it was. I just think it sold pretty well, and the label's like pretty happy. They're like, hey, we took a risk on this Reed kid. Like that's pretty good. What do you got next? And he's like, the most depressing thing you've ever heard. And they're like, oh, okay. And I love it. I don't know. I just like, there's some depressing work that I'm like, it doesn't make me sad. I think it's actually kind of, first off, it's only sad if you're a junkie and think it's going to last forever, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you, it's obviously it's sad. I'm just saying, like the true nihilism part of it is like, oh, I can't do drugs forever. What's this even worth? Like, no, you can't do drugs forever. This is what happens. Like, if you have a relationship based on drugs, you will lose the kids, and she will slit her wrists in bed, or you will, one of the two. And I think one thing artistically that he does, and he doesn't get enough credit for, and I don't even know if it's intentional or not, but he has talked about this at length, how he does this, is he sounds pretty upbeat at the beginning of the album. Like, sounds pretty upbeat, the same, like, hey, oh, like the same Lou Reed kind of like chipper kind of thing that he has going on, and then inside too, he's way more detached, cold as hell, and he just gets slow. It almost seems like he's like backing away, like Homer Simpson into the bush a little bit. Like it's it's like, oh god, what happened? Like I love the flow of it, and it's like and like I said, it's just every arrangement is like really interesting, and it switches back and forth between like grooves and tempos. Like you're never quite ready for what's next. And I think at the time, somebody like, it would have been nice if somebody like, God, why can't I remember? Nicholas Roeg made like a movie out of it. I would have loved that. Like it would have been, I think that would have been a really cool, like odd Nicholas Roeg, gross, like drug sex movie. And I think that was the opportunity he missed. I think that was maybe the only way to make this quote unquote a hit. I doubt it ever becomes a hit, but it might have become it might have become like this multimedia thing that like film students would love at least. So
yeah, I think it's one of his most interesting. It's new to me. I didn't really know about it, but it was. I instantly clocked it. I was like, this is a special one. And then you read, and it's like, oh, everyone hated it. And I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely, it's sad, but it's the most emotionally like available and textural. There's movement throughout it and everything. And it's weird. Also, there's the song Berlin on his first album, which is that's interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep revisiting this one because I think this is a hidden gem for sure.
And he said Berlin. They always asked him that because they're like, "Have you been to Berlin?" He's like, "No."
Yeah, and then there's the Bowie thing too. Yeah,
Bowie the Berlin, which is later in Bowie's career after he has his insane drug moment in LA where he said he saw Satan, and but Reed, what Reed does is he he says Berlin because he's like Berlin. There was the Berlin Wall. It was a city divided, and that's what the album's supposed to be. Is like just literally two people who have the same affliction, but they just like couldn't be more different from each other, or at least the only thing they have in common is the thing that's killing them. You know, and you know, I'm sure he made the woman, you know, the communist side, but you know, just one way or another. You know, I'm sure he just was like, well, hers was the bad one, of course. Gorbachev turned down the later Lou Reed would later as we go on later Lou Reed would get credit for like partially tearing down communism in Czechoslovakia.
So I know that's called the Velvet Revolution.
Yeah, it's insane.
Which is apparently that's not related to Václav Havel, the leader of the revolution, being a huge Velvet Underground fan and Lou Reed interviewing him. Like, I just you know, when I heard like it was the Velvet Revolution and like, oh, Václav Havel like Lou Reed, like sounds like Velvet Underground.
I wouldn't be surprised if our government deployed Velvet Underground to stop communism. And I wouldn't be surprised.
They claimed it was like Velvet Revolution was because it was a soft revolution, and that's what it was supposed to be, but had nothing to do with the fact that Havel was a Velvet Underground fan. But you know, I have my doubts.
I have my supreme doubts. Like if I was a parapolitical leftist, which I'm not. But if I was, I would be like, "Oh, that's what Lou Reed was a CIA agent for ending communism."
Yes,
in there, Rolling Stone deploys him over there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was like, and again, I don't like communism, so whatever. Like, it's just, I'm
good with it.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, like, because when you read those weird scenes at the canyon, like, I'm gonna do an episode on weird scenes at the canyon, and they're like, there's like a few things where you're like, "Oh wow, yeah, that is crazy. Oh shit, dude, what the hell?" And then they're like, "Yeah," and then his dad helped stop communism in Cuba, and you're just like, well, all right, okay, I'm just like, okay, I don't care, like, but yeah, it's just funny to me. So, you get Rock and Roll Animal. When we were talking, didn't you say you like this organization?
I was talking about the Take No Prisoners. I think.
Take No Prisoners.
But I do love Rock and Roll Animal.
Yeah, it's sick.
There's a great version of Heroin on there.
Yes.
Notes here.
Yeah, there's some great stuff on there. Let me see. Rock and Roll Animal is go ahead.
Great version of Lady Day,
Mm-hmm.
which is he had just it's on the tour right after he recorded Berlin, and Good White Light, White Heat, the really good long intro to Sweet Jane.
Yeah. Oh, the
which
best.
is really nice.
That's literally the only version I will listen to of Sweet Jane. Like, because I don't really like the album version. It doesn't like it. That the tempo that it's at, I don't think it works. And then when you get that like crazy, like almost proto like prog rock like intro to it on there, I'm like, this is insane. And then it just has that like. It just has like a little bit more like douche, like low IQ douche rock to it on the groove that I love. That like as opposed to like the other one where they're like, no, well that's too easy, we can't do that. And like, no, it rocks though. Like, so do it. That's kind of, I like this version of that so much better. Plus the live performance where he has the blonde hair, like the classic blonde hair. He looks so cool on there. Yeah. And he looks like a punk rock like Nosferatu. Like he just looks insane. Yeah, he looks insane. He's so strung out. Like, and but he's okay. Anna Kachian posts about this a lot, how she'll see like a homeless chick that's obviously like at her wits end and like not doing so hot. She's like, but damn, she's skinny. You know what I mean? Like damn, I wish like whatever affliction she's had, like it's shit like is on point. And I feel that way about Lou Reed, where I'm like, fuck, he's fucking like jacked though, dude. Like he looks like he like looks incredible. Like dude, like is that what I have to do? It's like a bunch of meth and then like dance around on stage? Like this is you
have to be like a leathered out homo, like drug addict.
I don't think Lou Reed can kill a bag of kettle chips. So like who really is afflicted? You know what I mean? Like I don't think he could drink 6 IPAs. Well, no, he probably could, but I could drink 6 IPAs. I don't even know, but I just mean he's like one of those guys. You're like, damn it, dude. Like all the junkies I know don't look like that. Like they don't.
Yeah.
They look like shit, like absolute shit, like distended stomach and like just absolute shit. So yeah,
he's a working junkie, so it's like, you know, he's got it's a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. Dueling guitars on that album, on that live show, are great. Shout out to Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner on there, and Prakash John on bass, because all the bass grooves, especially on I think Sweet Jane, like the bass groove on there is just, it's so much, it just gives it a new life. And yeah, that's a great live album. And there's not a lot of good recorded live Velvet Underground, like not that I can find, at least. If there is, send it my way, I guess, but I haven't seen that much, so that's a pretty good way into like what it sounded like back then, more or less. So yeah, Sally Can't Dance, I think, is his first dud, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, it's all right. You know, it's
just they always make those like, I'm just gonna make my, you know, going down to the sock hop rock and roll album. Like they all do this. All these guys that were famous around that time.
This is classic, like mid 70s. You know,
David Bowie had it's not Diamond Dogs, but he had a similar album like that, where it was just like, you're like, all right, it's like kind of like Jerry Lee Lewis, Great Balls of Fire, like just taking it back to the roots. And you're like, it does. It's just not that good to me. It's okay. Kill Your Sons is a great song though. I'll say that much. That's kind of what I would listen to. And then he has covers of Ride Sally Ride. You know, it's just, they all got to do their tribute album. You just let them get it out of the way. It means more to them than it does to you for the most part. Then we get to his he just can't fucking be normal. He does Metal Machine music. This shit is so stupid. It's like look, if people like it, people like it, but I don't think anyone he made it to where you can't listen to it all the way. Side 4 of it is infinity. It loops back every time when you try to finish it, and it's literally just noise. It's just like feedback and noise. The whole album. It's almost an hour long. I think it is an hour long, and it just loops over and over again. And there were people, and obviously his label's just like, what? Like, come on, this is what you were working on? He's like, yeah, it's the next thing, and he's kind of trolling a little bit. And but then also a bunch of people who would later create like Trent Reznor thinks this album's incredible, and like all these people, so like it actually did get a fan base. And it's just like, it became a joke on Mystery Science Theater. I remember when I was a kid, they would say like, this movie's so bad it's like listening to 2 hours of Metal Machine music. Like they would say that. I was a big MST3K guy.
So was I.
It's red hell, but I loved it. I didn't know what Reddit was at the time. My mom had all of the VHS. They had a really colorful VHS like kind of box set thing, and we would watch them all the time. It was great.
Yeah, it came out on Comedy Central or something.
So good. Yeah. I remember the theme song, oh gosh, dude. It was the best. So but yeah, Metal Machine music, it's like if you listen to this the whole time, and guess who's a big fan? Brian Eno, by the way, massive fan of this shit. They're just people like, it's like kind of a epic fail, but I don't get the idea that he thought he was going to do anything that crazy with it. I think he was just kind of like, it was kind of to fulfill a contract kind of thing, and he can't not do this. The fake album, it's the Velvet Underground, it's the Warhol. It's the Warhol thing that always stuck with him, even when after he was done with Warhol, is just kind of like, give them the thing that they probably don't even want, but catching them off guard's better than giving them something they want, you know, even if they hate it. And it's just, this is, I defy anyone to listen to the full album of this. I think you're lying if you said you have.
I mean, I didn't listen to the full album. I just listened to like a couple minutes of each track just to get make sure it was how it was. And as a fan of a lot of Japanese noise stuff, like Merzbow, a lot of power noise. Mm-hmm. This is just it's a little boring. It's at best it's kind of meditative if you want to put it on low in the background. But really it's nothing innovative. Well, I guess maybe back then it was, but now just listening to it, it's boring. But what I think this album does, it just really characterizes Lou Reed's personality.
Yes, it does.
It was an album that he released after, which was, I think, Sally Can't Dance. It actually charted. It actually did well. Like, I think it was one of his albums that
That's
actually
crazy.
It was charting, and he was feeling confident, and all his fans were like, he was saying that, oh, they want more guitar in my music. And he was saying that, oh, Sally Can't Dance. I hated that album because I just went in there and I did whatever they told me to do. I don't even remember recording it. So I might as well not even be on the album next time. And so this combination of, oh, they want more guitar and they don't want me to be on the album. Fine, I'll give them this. Like, fuck them. And it's just kind of that, like, he's going to contradict everyone and try to, like, turn against anyone who's expecting something out of him immediately. And he's just going to give them these. Like, you want guitar, here it is.
The worst thing you can do in Lou Reed's mind is think you know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And if for a minute he sniffs out that you think you know something about him, or you think you know where he's at, he will, to his own fault, go the other way. Like, he's a natural contrarian, right? Like, and an important one, right? And an important contrarian. Like, the word contrarian gets a bad connotation, but you need them to find out if what you believe is actually true. You know, so it's just, and in my opinion, I think I'm right. This album sucks. So yeah, I've tested it. Yeah. But anyways, it, like you said, it's actually really fun when you go back and look at the discography where you're like, wow, he really just did that. Yeah. And he tried to reprise it again around the same time Berlin got the reprisal. There was a Metal Machine trio that came out in like 2006, and it's with some, like, I don't know, some guy from Brooklyn with, like, long hair that knows computers, and it's like, and they're like, we will do it again with, like, symphonies and stuff. And I get, you know, in New York in 2006, it had a crowd and people went and saw it. So, you know, it is what it is. And it's kind of like it's kind of like those art galleries where it's a banana taped to a wall, you know, like, it's kind of what that reminds me of, like, when the show where they're like, oh, and everybody's just, like, looking at the banana taped to the wall. Like, it just kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But Reed is well aware of that. So he has a new girlfriend at the time named Rachel. Or Richard, depending on who you ask. The biography goes back and forth between Rachel and Richard in 2024. Kind of insane. The book itself is not trying to be, like, based in red pilled at all. Like, it's kind of how it was, where they'd be like, yeah, there'd be days where you'd be like, hey, Lou, where was that chick you were dating? Where was that cute chick you were dating? They're like, oh, he's in the kitchen. Richard's in the kitchen right now. and then they're like, oh, and it's just like a Puerto Rican guy. Yeah. Who apparently Rachel had done, like, a 3-year bid in jail for theft and stuff, or like 2 or 3 years, and that I would imagine we saw the seeds planted in the transgenderism during a hard jail sentence. I could imagine that was you could probably read between the lines of where that started, and so, but then after a while, like, when Reed liked to do this thing where, like, he knew he was around bad people, but he was content brained. He was like, this is perfect. This is, like, what I want to be. It's like a total author kind of thing. Like, I want Hunter S. Thompson, like, gonzo journalism kind of thing, where he liked it and he was very much a part of what he did. But, like, I don't think he had a bad judge of character. I think he was just like, no, I need to be around this type of person. And obviously he had his proclivities. He probably genuinely loved Richard / Rachel. And Rachel would still, like, go out on from the biography. It's really funny. They're like, yeah, and then, like, nobody would see Rachel for a while, and then they'd come back with, like, a bunch of stuff that they clearly stole from people. So it was just like concept, and they would, like, break into people's houses, and not Lou himself, but, like, Rachel would have, like, a team of people that would just break into people's houses, and he's like, yeah, and it was so fucking punk, man. Not punk, but, you know, it was so cool. You know, it was just such a cool time, and I was like, again, Laurel Canyon any day. Or whatever, Studio 54. I don't give a shit anything other than that. But he's in love at this time, and he makes, in my opinion, his best album, which is Coney Island, Baby. I love it. It's the reason we're doing this episode right now, is because I couldn't stop playing this album. 35 minutes long. It's quick. It has my favorite Lou Reed song, which is Charlie's Girl. It's got, like, this, like, it's got just this, like, I don't know. It's very grounded to me, and that's what happens when somebody has an earnest feeling in there. And I truly believe Lou was feeling pretty good at this time. He was still doing a bunch of drugs and stuff, but I think he was just, like, in a good headspace. And all these songs are just, like, they're well written, they're tight, the grooves are perfect. There's this like metronomal cowbell that's happening in Charlie's Girl that's really fun. She's My Best Friend is a great jam. I mean, that's a jam to me. Kicks has some of the best drumming I've ever heard personally. And that's shout out to, I think it's Michael Sikorsky is on there. Or I could be, no, it's not actually. It's Bob Midday, I think. One of the ways or another. It's nobody I know personally, like from a lot of other bands, but man, he's jamming. One of those two guys were jamming on that.
Yeah, no, Kicks is a great song. I love that one.
Yeah.
Charlie's Girl, of course. The only one I didn't like, it just drags it down, is the Ooh Baby song.
That's not a good song. You're right.
Yeah, that was the only one that didn't hit.
It should be on Sally Can't Dance. That should be on Sally Can't Dance. Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
you're right. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's kind of in the middle, like, and it's just kind of, but yeah, Nobody's Business is great. And then Coney Island Baby, just what a great, like, the tempo and those lyrics. It's
the
just
guitar, the John Frusciante core guitar that like eventually would become like what John Frusciante was really good at, was those really tight, like just tight playing, you know what I mean? Really like grounded playing, but like going places you don't expect him to go, like fitting so much in such a small area. And Reed's really cool because, again, if you're a virtuoso, which he was constantly around like really good virtuoso musicians, he was able to, he does a thing they could never do. They could never learn how to be Lou Reed. So they're like, cool, I've got that. I can do everything else that he needs though. You know, I can do everything else. And his style is like almost rap at this point, like especially in Coney Island Baby. It's just spoken word essentially, and he just constantly just wants to play football for the coach, man. He does make a weird like reference about that, just doesn't make sense about linebacker and defensive end, but like whatever. Whatever.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's obviously kind of this illusion. Like when he was growing up, he played sports.
Yeah, he wanted to be what his dad wanted. He wanted to be. He actually secretly does want to be what his dad wanted him to be.
Yes.
He's struggling with that. Yeah.
And yeah, the coach was the dad, you know, or that figure. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to be like, you know, he's saying like, I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing, but every time, you know, like you have those times where you wind down, or maybe like smoke a little weed and it's like you hit too much and you start thinking about like, gosh, I should have fucking just done that thing back in the day, dude. I should have just done it, you know, and like maybe my life would be different, you know. And he's toggling back and forth where he's like, yeah, but I can't, you know, and this is what I am. And that, I mean, shout out Scout Dixon West. She's got a fragrance, Coney Island Baby. Shout
Great
out
fragrance. Yeah.
Do you have it? I do need to get a bottle of it. Yeah. Shout out. So I mean, to be honest, didn't even know that's what it was from until we started doing this. Like I was just like, oh, Coney Island, yeah, sure, yeah. But it was, yeah, but on Kicks, I just a couple more things about that is like that is a straight up like. Sai, do you get like some idea that there's like Mad Lib listens to Lou Reed?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Like,
especially this album.
Kicks. There's a part where he's like, when the blood comes down his neck and it just cuts into like, like that.
Yeah.
It's like this weird, like that's such a Mad Lib, like
Quasimodo.
Jay Dilla, like Mad Lib, weird, like you put the fader on the turntable wrong or something. Like, oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. And yeah, just
definitely,
just totally. I mean, even like
definitely Stones. It's like a Stones throw album. Yeah. I feel it.
You're right. And Venus in Furs, like from Velvet Underground, is totally like Beat Conductor in India. Like it's just I totally get a lot of that. But this is still my favorite Lou Reed album, bar none. I mean, like I love Berlin, but I could put this on anytime and listen to it. So, and to be honest, I always like to, my parents are not big Lou Reed fans, but they're big 70s pop culture people and are well aware of what he is. And I asked, like, if I was like, have you ever listened to this? And I sent it to my mom. She's like, no, I didn't even like know, like, I didn't know what the hell he was doing in the 70s. Like, I just like, and to be fair, they don't have YouTube and like streaming. Like you went and you had a certain amount of money and you bought albums that you wanted to buy. You didn't, and if you didn't hear on the radio, which you didn't hear a lot of Lou Reed on the radio, like it wasn't, you know, he wasn't just this constant, he wasn't like the Eagles at this time or anything. He, you know, or, you know, people who weren't alive in the 70s don't understand what was actually popular about it. Like, what is it? All Right Now, like by Free, that's like the biggest song of the 70s. Like, you know, it's not Stairway to Heaven, you know.
I mean,
Like,
you had to be tuned in to like actually catch Walk on the Wild Side on the radio,
right,
which probably would have been his biggest radio hit at the time. And then like actually be into that enough to buy an album that has no singles, like, you know, or barely any, like years later, especially after he released Metal Machine Music and all the stores were sending it back, like, because they couldn't sell any, right? Like, I mean,
that's incredible. I just the whole idea of a record store just being like, no, what? Like, like and they're like, well, you signed up, like you signed up for like, you know, this many copies. Oh gosh, yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, so like during this time, like I said, he's in love with his transgender girlfriend that likes to rob people. Album cover's great. It's one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the first ones of its kind, like of him, for him, I should say. Like, you know, the classic Lou Reed thing is like a close up of his face with his sunglasses on, or with the Nosferatu look or something. But he's just got like that little Charlie Chaplin hat, cocked to the side, kind of over his face. Kind of a little, just a little tasteful. It's very tasteful. Love it. Love everything about this album, except for, like you said, that one song. But you know, it's 3 minutes and 45 seconds. It's, at least it's not like 10 minutes.
You just skip it.
You can skip it. It's totally. You're right. It does totally take the, like, you're like, what is this?
I don't know why he included it. You're right, Sally. It would have been better.
Yeah. Just I'll put all of the songs like that on that one album, so nobody can listen to it. Yeah. Again. So next we have Rock and Roll Heart. Pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Pretty good to very good, but mostly pretty good. Kind of just, I like You Wear It So Well. That's one of my favorite songs of this era of Lou Reed. Ladies Pay is pretty funny. It's a little sassy gay guy song. But yeah, it doesn't hit me the way Coney Island Baby does, but it is a solid follow-up. Again, it's only 37 minutes long. Most of the songs are 2 minutes long. Right now, you're starting to see the advent of punk rock, which it's funny about Lou Reed is he was not part of the punk era because he was already did all that. I love that. Like Bowie and him were both like, yeah, we were doing that in like 1971. Like we're like, I know you kids want to do that thing that you guys can do that. That's fine. Yeah. And they talk about it in the biography, like, yeah, I know I got to compete with these young kids. He's like, they're doing the shit we were doing, but I get it. They're young kids. They're jumping around the stage. People like it and stuff. It's just you when you get into punk or like start liking punk or something. I'm not the biggest fan, but like you kind of think he's part of that a little bit, and he's just like totally onto something else by that time. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, they're like, yeah, we did it better, you know.
And I'm inclined to agree. I like Queen Bitch by David Bowie is like a punk song. It's from 1970. Like it's just like, and it's a total like Sex Pistols song. And I'm like, I like this more than that.
Proto-punk's always better than punk.
And post-punk, in my opinion. Like proto and post, in my opinion. And there's a lot of people that love punk, but punk was never meant to be this like long-going like thing, like this like, oh, for 20, 30 years. Like you have to make it into something else after a while because it's really captures one energy at one time. And then after that, you kind of have to make iterations of it.
It's like why even though I'm not the biggest Ian MacKaye fan, but it's why I like Minor Threat. I also like Fugazi. Like he's like, look, you're right. Minor Threat hardcore. We're not doing that. We're going to do something more melodic and actually something different. Like that whole thing can't last. And yeah, that's why it's just like punk is very silly nowadays most of the time.
And the next album I actually really like this one, and I love the album cover. I love the like anime glint like on the sunglasses, the little anime sparkle. Street Hassle, I'm a fan. It doesn't sound like a lot of people love this album, but
one of my favorites.
I love this album. I don't know. I just like when you hear like people talk about it, they don't really like mention this album, and I think it's great. I am a huge fan of it, and I love the story behind it. Where Arista Records, Clive Davis, guy was around forever. I didn't even realize he was around during this time, but he was around all through the 90s and everything. And he liked Lou Reed, and he kind of liked the like scene that was happening. You find out Clive Davis was like kind of bisexual, so it kind of you understand why he likes the scene. And this is kind of around the time you have William Friedkin's Cruising and stuff, and you can see the influence aesthetically that movie where they're the meatpacking district. in New York. Reed takes Clive Davis, record exec guy, out to the meatpacking district where you can just see like Crisco fisting happening. Like you just know there's some disgusting shit happening. I remember Lou Reed claiming that he saw a guy that like looked just like Freddie Mercury, and then Freddie Mercury like got a mustache like and short hair right after with like tank tops, and he's like, oh yeah, Freddie Mercury got that from us, man. Like the gay like the like gay mustache kind of like leather guy thing from that. So this album is definitely it's like, I think the next one, I don't know if it's the next one after this. Yeah, the Bells becomes a mess, and I think this album is like the Bells if it's not a mess. I think it's very focused and good. Love the title track, Street Hassle. I Want to Be Black is hilarious because it's woke, but nobody nowadays would ever classify it as such. Like, who is actually woke? They'd be like, oh, you can't say that.
Yeah. No, he was just he was just saying everything he might about black people, even though you're
Yeah, I love all of you for all of your qualities.
Yes,
I love all of your qualities. Because you remember, like, okay, you guys remember? I've talked about this a lot. Like, if you had a teacher in the '90s that was like woke, and like with a rain stick to like quiet the class or something, like if you had a teacher like that, they would like say the N-word. Like, and I mean it like not like they wouldn't like call the black kid that like in class, but they would just like read it out of a book. Like they wouldn't like skip over the word, and they would like say it. They'd be like, and we need to say it. We need to be reminded of slavery and stuff. And you're like, oh, that's crazy how different. Like the King of the Hill like acoustic guitar teacher, like that was like they used to do that back in the day. They would be like, you don't want to ignore these people. Yeah. Patti Smith.
Yeah, Patti Smith definitely was like a middle school teacher, just telling her kids like, Jimi Hendrix was a,
Yeah, that's
like
the bet. That is one of the hardest songs ever. They on streaming. They're such cowards. It's not on streaming. Like it's literally black, like grayed out on the streaming. I'm like, dude, that song rules. Come on.
You can find the Marilyn Manson version.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Why can he say it?
I have no idea. It's
my English
weird,
teacher has rights
for different reasons. So.
I know. Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. Can you imagine that? If you're like someone's like you're at a bar, like you're at some like hipster bar where they're all like woke, and you're just like, I hate Marilyn Manson. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, such a pig. He's like, yeah. And he said the N-word, and they're like, what? Oh, I was talking about his I was talking about all of those burlesque girls that he kidnapped against their will. But anyways, I Want to Be Black is a great song. I love it. It's hilarious, and this is a really good album, and I love the cover too. It's probably it's tough to say because all his album covers are pretty sick, so it's pretty tough to I do love that from like the Warhol days. He always had good album covers. I even like the Banana album cover for Velvet Underground. I know how cringe that can be now to people, but I love it. The Bells is a mess. In fact, the guy who there's a really funny thing I'll tell at the end of this about the box set, that part of the biography where the guy was trying to put together the Lou Reed box set during the box set craze of the 90s. And the guy who was putting it together, his last name was Bowman, put like a lot of albums except for this one on, which I'm like, this isn't his worst album. Like, it's just not that good. But he was like, they're like, well, dude, put the Bells on there. And he's like, no, I hate the Bells. And then they got into it over that. But I'm like, but then they asked Lou Reed, like, well, if you have a copy of it, put it on. Like, let's listen to it and I'll reappraise it. And Lou Reed's like, oh, I don't have a copy of that. And he's like, well, do you even fucking like it? It's so funny. It's just like, but it's just like disco. It's like disco punk. It kind of doesn't work, but it was a good attempt, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, coming after Street Hassle, which is either my number 1 or 2 favorite of his albums. It just is a little disappointing. Like City Lights is kind of a nice, kind of tells a story about Charlie Chaplin. All Through the Night is good. I hate Disco Mystic.
It's not good. Yeah.
Disco Mystic and like Without You With You is like a very kind of Bowie bad imitation of Bowie.
He never quite left it, right? Even though he pretends he didn't. Yeah.
No, I mean, you can even hear it on like Berlin, the album right after Transformer. Lady Day is very
right.
it's always
Without
like
question.
he's trying to have that sound, but he doesn't want to hire Bowie again because Bowie gets too much.
And then Bowie's like, I would love to work. Even though they fought, he literally punched. Bowie got apparently they got in like fist fight one time, which that had to have been the funniest thing if you ever saw that happen. Like if you were like at a club or like if you're like at a restaurant, you're like, are those two late? What do those two ladies want? What is that lesbian in a leather jacket and that girl with the red mullet fighting over?
Is there a slap fighting match going on?
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, will you two ladies settle down? And then that happens, and then I remember like Bowie was just like, you got to get your shit together. And it's like, we're talking about David Bowie in the 70s telling you have to get your shit together. This guy's like hallucinating off of like not eating anything and like just eating peppers and milk and cocaine. And he's like, Lou, you are a mess. Like,
Dude, have a pepper, chill.
I know. He's like, I have the perfect diet. Yeah, you can be 110 pounds.
There's always someone worse off than you. There's always another level you can get to.
It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like it had to have been bad, and I think that's one thing the biography does is it's a pretty good picture of Lou Reed, because I have a feeling it's way worse than what they're telling you in the biography, because it's just like the guy's a mess. And a part of it is like David Bowie is probably just as much of a drug addict, but he was nice. Like he was a nice guy. Like people just were like, yeah, but he's cool as fuck. You know, like Reed, it's like, oh, damn it. Like he yelled at me again. He threw a fucking bottle of Jim Beam at my head, you know, for not putting the mic close enough to his acoustic guitar, you know, like it's just, it's your actions, not necessarily what you consume a lot of times. And he was a big Johnny Walker Black fan, by the way. He loves being black. And growing up in Public's another one that I think is okay. I kind of like forgot about it already. Like I'm looking at the tracks. Nothing really pops out to me, but he's about to make a really good album.
Yes.
In my opinion, probably his last masterpiece. It's called The Blue Mask. And at this time, Lou Reed's starting to look like Diddy Kong, by the way. Like, if you look at him, he has this, like, curly hair, and he almost looks kind of simian as he's starting to get older. And he kind of looks, if you put him in a red hat and a red shirt, he would look like Diddy Kong. And then, he's keeping it high and tight. He's starting to become more, like, Jewish at this time. And then in the 90s, he'd get the full, like, Jeff Lynne, like, Howard Stern perm, like, that would happen. Or I don't know if it's a perm. It's probably just his natural hair. But
he is Jufro. He's got
he really started becoming.
I always forget he's Jewish. Like,
and then the biography reminds you through the entire back half of the biography. And I just love being Jewish, man. Jesse Jackson, I don't like your comments about Jews, man. It was funny. So Reed, somewhere along the line, picks up a guitarist named Robert Quine, who I think is fantastic. Robert Quine is a great guitar player, he definitely and it's funny, they used to mix his guitar, they used to mix it left and right. So Reed, I think Reed was on the left and Quine was on the right, and guess which one they would argue about who should be turned up higher, Lou Reed or Robert Quine. And a lot of times, and I'm not trying to hate on him, nobody listens to Lou Reed for like great guitar playing by him. That's not what you're there for. But like a lot of like big shows that he would do, especially in the 80s during like Farm Aid and things, they would just like straight up turn his amp off because they're just like, we'll like, there's plenty of guys that'll play this show with you that can just play the stuff you do. And eventually towards the end, you can tell like in the 2000s, he was actually kind of jamming a little bit. Like he actually started taking it really seriously and became kind of a gearhead. And really wanted to do that. And I think maybe his marriage to Laurie Anderson, because she was kind of a virtuoso musician, maybe that kind of played into it a little bit. But The Blue Mask is great, especially the title track. It fucking rules. That's like the good frequency, like feedback stuff that I like, because it's still rooted in that awesome bass line of just like and the lyrics are cool. They don't fit kind of, but they do, and that's what Lou Reed does. Is he's like, you would never write this song this way, only I can. And I love that song. I love Underneath the Bottle. He's flirting with quitting drinking at this point, if he hasn't already. He also has a song called I Love Women, which it's a song.
Women, that's a great one where he's like talking about feeling guilty. He's like, I looked at like dirty magazines, but that's sexist. I know that. Like,
well, he's with a woman named Sylvia Morales at this point, who is a feminist, like author, right, or something.
Yeah.
Like she's like that. They had a house in the 80s together. They've Rachel, you'll be shocked to find out Rachel was begging on the streets for money after Lou Reed left left her,
meth addict too,
and
apparently.
eventually died of AIDS.
Yeah.
Lou got out at the right time. And he gets with
He
Sylvia.
shorted it well. Yeah.
He shorted
Yeah.
Rachel Richard coin, and he definitely started with this Sylvia Morales girl. They talked about the house that they bought together, and they had oh God, what was it? Yeah, they had an earth toilet in their house that turned waste into compost using no water, which, he's like, oh yeah, like I lived in the fucking factory where we had that at the factory too, where you just shit on the ground probably.
Yeah, leave it there. That's the compost.
And then someone's like, "Oh, is that a piece that you're working on?" Like, or something. Oh my God, that's so great. Yeah, yeah. So that's the that's pretty funny. And but yeah, the Blue Mask is great. I love most of the songs on this album.
I mean, we should point out, at this time, so he's left Rachel. And like he's already like, I'm done with the junkie faggot shit. Like I'm gonna be like a different type of guy. And this album like actually is the first one to really show it.
It is.
I mean, the women one, the I Love Women. Maybe he's broadcasting stuff a little bit too loudly there, but but it is a good song. My House is just a great ode to Delmore Schwartz.
Yes,
because
the Blue Mask title, I believe, is a Delmore Schwartz thing, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think
that makes sense because the gun. So the gun. The first time I listened to that, it was like, okay, this is a little corny. It's a little cheesy. It's about this guy who feels this power of the gun. And then I listened to it and I'm like, actually, Lou Reed makes it work. Like It is kind of a little bit more of a Clint Eastwood-esque, like he's been inspired by this sort of vigilanteism. Like this is 82. So that, comes in like the gritty New York. He's kind of changing his attitude about what New York has become.
Yeah.
And I think also there was a story in the biography about, I don't know, someone heard like Lou Reed owned a firearm, like he owned some sort of a revolver.
Right.
And they couldn't imagine like him having a revolver because like they would never want to be around him. And it turns out they were like, they went to his house and there was a hole in the floor and they're like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. The revolver went off.
Oh, sick.
He just accidentally shot
through the floor, which he's on like the 5th floor too.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man. Oh,
I didn't even think about that. Like his whole family down there.
Oh shit, man.
Charge it to the game, dude. Dead
Man,
3-year-old.
Damn Republicans out there, some conservative Christians down there, so they understand. They put this in my hand, man. But yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I know. There's so many good stories of him in the 80s. Like he had more antics when he got sober, because like I feel like that was how he got his kicks. Right? Was like trolling people hard. I like Legendary Hearts too. I think it's fine. I think it's a fine album. It's like not nearly as good as Blue Mask, but there's some good ones. He starts getting really heavy-handed politically around this time, like where it's like, okay, it's Peter Gabriel used to suffer from the same problem where it's like, it's implied in your music that you are a, clean up Captain Planet, clean up the trash, lived hard. Like it's implied, and when I get it, and I'm not against that. Especially during the 80s and stuff, because there was trash everywhere after the 70s and stuff. Like I'm for that. It's just you don't need to make a song that says that explicitly, and then sometimes that happens in the 80s with Lou Reed, whereas he was just, the good part about it is he was able to be really artful in the 70s when he was talking about something, and all these things had double meanings and stuff. And the 80s is just such a decade of like earnesty, I feel like, and we're starting to hop into like Reaganomics, like big massive like commercial, try to get a commercial hit Reaganomics, which Lou definitely tried to get a part of. Make no mistake, he wanted a hit. Clive Davis showed him in 1978 Bruce Springsteen, and he tried to he saw Bruce Springsteen live, which again, I'm not a massive Springsteen guy, but if you see him live, like there's just a part of that where it's objectively like great, I'm sure. And especially in those like amazing club shows that he would do in the 70s that like boomers all pretend they were at, and they all pretend they were there. They like you all went to the same bar and saw Bruce Springsteen in 1978.
They all went to what, the Bottom Line or wherever that
Yeah,
was.
CBGB's, dude.
Yeah.
He was at or just like, I'm like, you live in Arkansas. Like, what do you like?
My dad was a victim of that, and it's bummer is like. I knew he would be embellishing some shit, but I knew a lot of the shit he was saying was true. So I'm like, you know, it was hard to parse.
Yeah, they're taking like secondhand information, and which is like, again, I kind of long for that time period because now you can't lie about that stuff. And I'm like, we're in this hyper like transparent part where like everybody knows what you did and stuff, and you're like, I kind of like these people to have like a fable to tell, you know, but it is funny, like, because you're like, you were not at that show till 4 and he performed until 7:30 a.m. and I went to work after that. And you're like, no, you didn't.
It's like Grandpa's war stories, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can let him embellish, you know, like let him,
It's just that's totally fine. It's funny. They all pretend to have seen Bruce Springsteen at the bar, and not like I would agree if you were like, oh, I went and saw him at like where the Red Wings play. Like, yeah, okay, sure, maybe you did. But like when they pretend they've seen him in his like early days, like Born to Run, you know, like all that stuff, and it cracks me up. But he was
drinking beers with everyone after the show, and
Clive, he's like, I'm not going to stop playing until this bar runs out of beer. and so it's just one of those like movie moments that they do. I love it. But Clive Davis went to see him, and you know, Lou Reed will just go, yeah, it's fine, not really my thing. And then clearly he tries to make like a Bruce Springsteen album like 4 times in a row afterwards. Classic. I don't like the guy, but I could do that. And shit, why didn't I think of that? Let me do that now. Thing. Everybody who's listening to this right now, if you're like, whatever, I'm not going to listen to this stuff, just look up the cover of this next album. It's amazing. New Sensations, Lou Reed. He is playing what it looks like an Atari of himself. He's like a baby like size playing it, and he's just stoically like the thinker like on the screen, and he's like playing a video game, which he did have an Atari at the time. He was like one of the like he bought the Atari like right when it came out, and he was like a Miles Davis guy. Like he loved like whatever was new. And this album's funny because Robert Quine and him have a falling out, and Robert Quine was on the Blue Mask and was really proud of his work on there, and he showed it to God, what is that guy from Rolling Stone that died? He killed himself. Lester Bangs, right? And him and Lou Reed kind of had like a ornery kind of like outlaw.
Lester Bangs said some pretty wild shit about Rachel.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I forgot.
I don't know if you have the quote, but it's pretty wild.
I will try my best to find it because it is just insane. Like it is like, dude, it is like RuPaul's Drag Race like level like shit. Like it's just like the old school iterations where they're like even to me, somebody who like I don't make my opinions vague about what I think about stuff like that, especially nowadays. But I'm like, damn, even to me, I was like, dude, fuck, like I was like, dude, chill out.
But this album cover was great. Like it's one of I have 4 Lou Reed albums on record: Transformer, Street Hassle, New York, and this one, New Sensations. So I love the artwork on this. It's the first time where it's not like his face just front and center. So I thought that was interesting about the artwork.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I can't find the let me see if I have to go to I definitely won't find it in the book because I listened to it on audio. That is the one downside of not being able to do that. But because with Rachel, it was like Rachel was like considering actual like a surgery because God, what was the surgery like in 1977?
I know. Like where
was it Dr. Nick or something? Like, oh my gosh, like I was like, whoa, like I don't even it's bad now. Like I don't even want to know. Like, and so noted rock critic Lester Bangs, who was a friend of Reed's then guitarist Robert Quine, often wrote negatively about Rachel during his tenure as editor of Cream. Shortly after Bang's death in the spring, basically he was just like, here we go. In notes from the Velvet Underground, that's not the quote. Anyways, basically like one guy saw Rachel begging on the streets, but like Lester Bangs was just like, I can't believe people think this is a chick, basically. Like, what the fuck? Like, what world are we living in right now? Like, why are we calling? Like, it was just like, what a lot of people would have thought, to be honest, if you weren't. But Lester Bangs also was like, he was like in the scene and stuff too. I'm like, that's weird that you've never seen, like, you've probably seen this type of shit before. So it was kind of interesting. Lester Bangs lost, though. He killed himself, right? So he's, or something. He died of drug overdose or something like that.
Yeah, I think he overdosed on like cold medicine or something like that.
Beta. Yeah. Reed wins. Rachel did not win. Reed wins, though.
Okay, so I have a little bit of the quote.
Hit me with
it.
In
1980, following the release of Blondie, Lester Bangs was interviewing for a radio program called News Blimp. A copy of the tape sent to me anonymously. Hang on. Oh wait, no. All right, never mind. That's not it. Okay.
It's like a fucking like diatribe too. It's crazy. I remember when it happened. He's just like spazzing out on Rachel, and it's like, wow, crazy. But yeah, anyways, the Robert Quine had a falling out with Reed because he had shown Lester Bangs the blue mask, and I think Lester Bangs was like, this is good, and then made kind of like a backhanded compliment about it. But Robert Quine was like, hey, Lester Bangs liked your album. He said like this. He had a couple qualms with it. And like Reed was like, fuck that guy. What are you doing? What do you need his approval for, you fucking loser? Get out of my band.
Yeah.
The problem is that Lou Reed as a lead guitarist is not the best option on your album. But on New Sensations, what he does, I think, is really cool. And any smart producer knows this, is kind of like, okay, we need to play to our strengths here. Let's bring in some synths. Let's bring in some drum machines. And let's let Reed just kind of like he's really catchy on this album. I love Endlessly Jealous. I think that's a great song. And the title track New Sensations, great. My Red Joystick. I mean, look, a lot of people aren't gonna like it if you're from these albums. Like if you're just like, Velvet Underground, like, yeah, you're not gonna like this album. But I liked it. I found it very fun, and I was ready to be like, oh, we're hitting a lull here. This isn't gonna be good. I was surprised that I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, so My Red Joystick, the thing, like, it's kind of a fun, like, tune, melody, but just like the lyrics where he's trying to be obviously like his red joystick. Everyone knows what it is. He's like trying to do a sexual play on words.
Of course.
But I mean, yeah, the song New Sensations was great. Was I Love You, Suzanne on this?
Yeah, that's the first song.
Yeah, I know that's another great one that I really love. But yeah, no, this is like a great album, and kind of is just like a little bit more fun than it's a little bit more fun than the Blue Mask and his previous ones. Like, because I think a lot of the Blue Mask and previous one, what was it called? Growing Up in Public, and the Bells. Like this one, he was kind of out of that I'm getting over heroin and alcoholism phase. Like that early 80s, he was still like kind of recovering from that, trying to adjust to life, I think. And he finally really got sober around New Sensations. And leading up to the next album, Mistrial.
Mistrial sucks, dude.
Mistrial sucks.
It sucks because the album cover's cool. I wish it was good. Like I was looking at it, I like it, like him with the guitar. I had such a sick 80s vibe. It's just the thing, and it's just not good. Like I just unfortunately, I really, really wanted to like that album. It's not good. And to be honest, I grew up with his album New York in the house. Mm-hmm. It's kind of embarrassing now when you listen to it. I don't know if you feel that way.
I look, his lyrics may be a little embarrassing because it's very dated. Like, when you start mentioning Giuliani and start referencing Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and stuff.
The Jesse Jackson story is so funny from this. The Jesse Jackson, because Jesse Jackson ran for president in the 80s. He was kind of a Bernie Sanders style, albeit Bernie Sanders' heritage and Jesse Jackson's views not quite the same. Jesse Jackson was running kind of like, workers' rights, big time like leftist populist kind of thing that was happening. He was getting some traction too. Like it was definitely happening. Problem is he went to New York and he called it Jaime Town, which is a Jewish slur. and you know, he's got like Louis Farrakhan. That's probably the diet version of what he actually thinks. And Lou Reed's like, hey man, what? He's like supporting Jesse Jackson. He's like, he doesn't like the Jews, man. What? Like, and it's so funny. He's like, oh man, no thanks, Jesse. Like, it just cracks me up.
Yeah, he just pretty much starts calling him a race hustler. Like,
he did. No, he was like, sorry. He's like, look, he's like, I'm sorry, that's a bridge too far. I cannot support you anymore. But it's so funny because you could tell he was like #1 proponent of like that style of like, you know, Bernie Sanders, like leftist populism kind of thing. That was apparent there. And but yeah, New York is, I don't know. I remember as a kid thinking it was kind of interesting. Like when my mom would play it and she really liked it. And like I said, she's not a massive Lou Reed fan, but I think, you know, she liked some of the stuff he was saying on there. And at the time it's a little different making that than making it now. It's important to say that. And it just doesn't hold up that well to me. I don't know. Like, and even some of the musical arrangements are just okay to me. And it's 14 songs, you know, and I just don't think it needs to be. There's that really the line of like the Statue of Liberty, like peeing on you. And you're just like, oh boy. Like, it's
you mean the Statue of Bigotry?
Statue of Bigotry, not the Statue of Bigotry. Read it down the hall to the left, Lou.
Yes.
Yeah, not the Statue of Bigotry. Yeah, no, it's not great. Warhol's dead at this point. He died in 1986. Andy Warhol. Him and Lou Reed had a falling out, as you know, most people do with him. But he, it's quite clear that he was still kind of a looming presence in Lou's life. Definitely influential to him, whether he wants to admit it or not. But in 1986, Warhol died. I didn't realize Warhol died from medical malpractice, though. I did not know that.
Did you think it was like from the gunshot?
Well, he got shot, right? One time he got shot, and I think he had been having complications from gallbladder. He had to get his gallbladder removed. And they pumped in the hospital. They never had anybody monitoring him the whole time. Like literally nobody. Like nobody visited Warhol, like no nurses or anything. And they pumped double the fluids into his body.
Oh my God.
So they just like fucking like blimped him, turned him into a blimp. And then he just like died. And like, yeah, it's crazy. So I just like, and they're like, I guess they got $3 million from the hospital in a lawsuit. So it's like, okay, there's gotta be something there, you know, like it's wild. Yeah. So anyways, trust doctors. They're the best guys. And they're just so good. They're fucking amazing. And he makes an album with John Cale. They decide to get together and make this. I think this is an awful album. A lot of people like it. I don't like it. It's called Songs for Drella. And I fucking fall asleep to this thing, dude. Like it just does nothing for me. I don't know. People got great reviews. All these places love it. You know, Rolling Stone 4 out of 5. You know, LA Times 3 out of 5. Chicago Tribune 4. It's just there's a lot, but I can't listen to it.
I mean, I'll give Lou his due as far as just being a great songwriter on this album. If you read the lyrics, like it is really just a very like touching eulogy to Andy Warhol, and it's very well written. Like if you just read it like poetically, it's really good. The music's boring.
That's the problem.
It's like, and it was frustrating because I love John Cale too, and I'm like, oh, these guys, and it's just like, you get together, and I don't know, maybe you disagreed about so much, it all just kind of like washed into something very average musically.
Yeah, and they start trying to flirt around with a Velvet reunion. Sounds like people are running out of money, and they want to do like a little thing. The Velvet's getting kind of when grunge comes out. Kurt Cobain looks like a Warhol junkie, basically. So everybody's just kind of going back to the roots and finding Velvet Underground, finding, Lou Reed or Transformer, a lot of these like things that inspire what's really popular in the 90s. So they want to capitalize on that, and it doesn't last long. Everybody's like, hey, it's kind of like when Oasis reunites. You definitely don't want to buy tickets for the third Oasis reunion show on the date. Make sure you get tickets to the first one. So because if the first one goes bad, there will not be a third one. They only perform in Europe at the time. They don't even make it back to the States. They're just not meant be a long-term band. John Cale's had a very successful career. Mo Tucker's had a successful career. Sterling Morrison died, unfortunately, but he was a very good guitar player. I think he did a lot of session work, if I'm not mistaken. And then at this time, Lou Reed is starting to date Laurie Anderson and fade away from Sylvia, who was his manager and wife. You don't want to do that. She's like negotiate. I just almost pictured like Stevie's wife from Eastbound and Down. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it is so uncomfortable, like that, like them describing like, oh yeah, I'd bring Sylvia, who I was separated from at the time, but she was my manager, on dates with like, you know, other women that he was seeing. Like he would do this like in other relationships too. It'd just be like, oh yeah, she's my ex and this is the new one I'm seeing, and like flirt with other women in front of like the it was a little wild. Even you know, this is way after the factory scene. Like
I mean, he must have something to him though, because like that is like straight up the biggest humiliation ritual for a woman of all time. Like, and she was like there for like years after.
Yeah,
and you're just like, what is it, money? Because he's not. I can't imagine he's making that much money. You know,
well,
like,
she's a strong woman. She's a strong businesswoman, and you know what? She can like tolerate going through that. You know,
put her hair in a bun.
Has nothing to do with being her ex-boyfriend.
Put on her hair. Put on her hair. Put on some gangster rap and fuck shit up. That's what she Sylvia Morales did. It's just it doesn't seem to be working out very well. But he finds a androgynous short-haired art hoe named Laurie Anderson, and they are happily ever after. It's the best of both worlds. Lou Reed's like, great. AIDS is rampant everywhere. I need a woman because gay is not for me anymore. And she's kind of, I tried listening to her music. My Lord. She's very talented, but it's just not for me. It's just not for me. But she's, you know, plays violin, does all this crazy stuff. And I do think Lou Reed became like a more skilled guitar player after being with her. Tough to attribute it to anything else, because I just didn't learn anything otherwise. But he starts dating her. There's some very forgettable 90s albums, in my opinion. Set the Twilight Reading. The Anthology comes out in 1992, which that has a great story, like I was saying, about him putting together the anthology. He was all for like his old stuff getting pushed out again. Like that was a big part of the CD era, was these guys were able to kind of get reprisals on their work that they knew was good. So yeah, that a guy last name of Bowman who was putting together this thing, and he was a huge Reed fan. They said it was like impossible to get him to like do any interviews, and that's always been the case with him. And they wanted to have an interview in the box set that made it worth buying, that was like kind of transparent, kind of earnest. Reed wanted creative control. Reed actually took fewer royalties from it if he could have final say in what was put in the interview. And basically he struck all the good stuff out of there, and it's all just like kind of slop. According to the person putting it together. I do not have this anthology, but apparently they weren't very happy with that, but it did sell well, especially in 1992 when you see bands like Nirvana popping out and stuff, and it was a really good time to do that. And they have it available on Apple, the anthology, and it is a pretty good way to get into Lou Reed. There's a lot of really good stuff on there. He didn't really like the idea of his B-sides being put out, which I get that. It's like, I would have put them out if I wanted them out.
Yeah.
Especially while you're alive. Well, if you're dead, I'm like, just release them. Who cares? But like, I wouldn't want that.
Yeah. Before, I just want to mention on Set the Twilight Reeling. Not a great album, but there are two really good songs on there. I think Hang On to Your Emotions and Sex with Your Parents.
Yeah,
really, those are really good songs. If
Sex
anyone
with Your
just
Parents.
like wants to check it, those are great. And he does some live versions of Sex with Your Parents. You know, if you don't want to listen to the Set the Twilight Reeling, but yeah, the box set. That guy had some great stories about Lou Reed just trying to arrange that interview for the box set, and what happened. My favorite story of his about that was when I think it was like after the interview, Yeah, I think it was after the interview. He went with Lou Reed to go to like an ATM or something at a bank. And Lou Reed sees a homeless person sleeping in the vestibule of the bank. And he just said, he turns to like the guy who's doing the liner notes for the box set, just like, he says, look at that. That's disgusting. And he gets so angry that he goes in, walks to the bank manager and demands that the bank manager throw the homeless person out. And it was like cold. It was like a cold, like New York winter.
It's a lot. And he literally had just come out with the album about how New York just tosses homeless people away. And like, Giuliani has no compassion. Many such cases, by the way.
Yeah. I mean,
like
look, he's not wrong, but I'm just saying, like, it's very much weird how like, he kind of changed.
He's not right. He's not wrong at all. I just wish there's a cognitive dissonance a little bit, if I would say, between that, which is kind of funny because it's just like, oh, it's ridiculous. Very funny anecdote from John Cougar Mellencamp, 1990 Farm Aid. So Reed gets tapped on to do Farm Aid. You know, he's one of those guys like, you know, save the environment, like take care of the farmers, you know, all that stuff. But he's also not quite exactly what is billed at Farm Aid, usually Willie Nelson, you know, kind of like some outlaw country people and folksy and stuff. And Reed just being the city guy, New York City and stuff. But he played it like a lot of years. But in 1990, this is another Lou Reed hypocrisy moment. I'll read it from here. For the 1990 Farm Aid concert in Indianapolis, Mellencamp, that's John Cougar Mellencamp, invited Guns N' Roses to headline, which proved to be a controversial decision. Guns N' Roses was the biggest band in the world at the time, and the band's lead singer, Axl Rose, and rhythm guitarist Izzy Stradlin had grown up in Indiana. But the band's song, One in a Million, included a line complaining about immigrants and faggots, and claimed that gay people spread disease, a clear reference to AIDS, which was ravaging the gay community at the time. Many people did not want Guns N' Roses to play the show, but Mellencamp would not back down. Quote, everybody was so mad about it, even at Farm Aid, Mellencamp said. Quote, it pissed me off. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the biggest band in the country right now, and you don't want them to come? It's their song. It made no difference to me. Everything I like doesn't have to be politically correct, and every band that plays here doesn't have to be politically correct. But Lou came into my dressing room and jumped my shit. He was worked up about it. I said, Lou, this is a funny conversation coming from a guy who wrote a song called Heroin. He just walked out. And I don't think I ever spoke to him again.
Dude, that's an ultimate comeback. That's a great.
I know. It's like, dude, you literally have like songs about like girls killing themselves and well, and what's funny about Lou Reed is like he was never popular enough to actually be banned. And I noticed he kind of struggles with that a little bit, where he's like, fights for artists like free speech, but like there's never, his stuff is like so niche at the time that like it's just not like, it's not Darling Nikki, you know what I mean? It's not these like crazy songs that are everywhere. So like it's like, dude, no one's ever banned your stuff, like, because it's just kind of the people who like it, they seek it out, and it's fine, you know. So it's just funny to me. So you're familiar with the Guns N' Roses song? To be honest, that's not off Appetite for Destruction, is it?
No, it's on Lies and
to be honest, I don't know it, but I was like, whoa, geez.
He says the N-word in it too. There's more than just immigrants and faggots. There's a whole it's a screed. And talk about one of the songs that has not been taken off of Spotify. I'm like looking every day, hasn't been taken. Thank God. Yeah, no, that's one of the ones you can find on there. So what
does "Welcome to the Jungle" mean?
I know.
Is that about something else? I thought that was about Skid Row. Whoa.
Probably not. Well, at least maybe a part of Skid Row.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. That's funny. Yeah, that's hilarious. I know. I will say there's just a couple things worth talking about as we wind down here. You mentioned to me that Ecstasy from 2000 by Lou Reed's good, and you were correct. It's a good album. That's a good album. It's a bit overproduced for me, like at times, but that was the time. That was what they did with these guys. These kind of older artists was they would get this like new production, and it would kind of, you'd get like violins and like orchestral. But I really like a lot, like the title track Ecstasy. Mad is a great song. I like it. It's a very good effort at a time for a guy who really doesn't. This is a bad era of Lou Reed.
Oh yeah, no, like I think Turning Around, Rock Minuet is great. Big Sky, the final song. I mean, it's just a really good rock and roll album. Something I did not expect from him. Given like it's Magic and Loss, it was fine. Set the Twilight Reeling, bland for the most part, and then it was just a lot of years in between. He released a live album called Perfect Night live in London, which is like it's a beautiful live album. It's he plays acoustic, I think, and then someone else plays electric, so it's like you get kind of like it's a different sound than some of his other live albums. But yeah, that was like really the last good studio. I mean, if you want to count Hudson River,
I kind of do.
Great. It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
No, it's not the same though. It's not it's not an album. So Si's got to bump this album because it rules.
I didn't have time.
You'd love it.
Hudson River Wind Meditations is exactly what you would think it was. It's like, I mean, I just picture RFK cleaning up the Hudson River while Lou Reed's doing Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Dude, what a wonderful time of New York.
It reminds me of like some of those, like a little bit more
River Keeper. Sorry, go ahead.
It reminds me of like some of the Brian Eno ambient albums, like the music for airports.
It's tight, dude. No, and he said, he's like, this is not me like putting out an album hoping it sells. He's like, I put this out because people want to meditate. And he's like, people like shit like this to meditate to. And he goes, anytime I would put it on, he goes, I would have like, meditation things at my house, or like, like Tai Chi sessions or something. And people would go, hey, can I like get a copy of that? And he goes, oh, I made it. And they're like, can I have that? And he's like, well, I'll just see if like somebody wants to put it out, and like people can, if and you go buy it. And I'm like, that's a great idea. And to be honest, there's a time and a place for it. I could see myself really, just chill, just max into it, dude. Like, it's great. I'm a big fan. I might use some of it for readings and stuff. Like, I really like it.
I read to it. Yeah. A couple nights ago, I just put it on. Like I was putting it on just like when I was like cleaning my apartment and stuff, and just like, it's nice music. It's good music to listen to just in the background.
Yeah, obviously we have the dreaded Lulu that we're split on here.
Wait, should we mention the Raven before then?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I did.
So at least mention what went into it. Because
go ahead. Yeah.
So this was Lou Reed's interpretation of some Edgar Allan Poe stories, songs that were inspired by Edgar Allan Poe that he wrote, but he had a lot of guest musicians on. I mean, great ones: David Bowie, Ornette Coleman, Laurie Anderson. He had Willem Dafoe and Steve Buscemi. Like a lot of like, I think was it Helen Mirren or someone on there. Like, I mean, just actors like reading these lines, and even like he really wants to be considered a poet and a great, a great writer. This just isn't it. Like everything, like all of it is very. He's trying too hard on all of it. It's really bad, and all the stars that he brings in just can't save it. Like, and that's what's really sad about it, is because he tries so hard on this. He just gets all this, all his actor friends and his musician friends together, and he can't make anything do it. And he had to release like one that was like a shortened version, and one that was like an expanded edition if you wanted to listen to even more bullshit. Like, I don't know, it was pretty bad. But you should just mention that at least he, that was a time in his life that that was a passion project for him.
I think there was a really it's like sad but also happy kind of thing, where the biography says at this time Reed is much more appreciated than he is liked for what he's putting out there. People are just happy to see him doing things. And which is like another way of saying you put out straight ass juice music. Like, it is what it is. It's fine. Look, that's a great run. What he had is a great run. I mean, we're talking more or less, more good than bad, some stellar, some elite for 20 years. Really, we're talking, if you're not including Velvet Underground. It's pretty damn good. So he's feeling sick during a lot of this time. I mean, this guy's had hepatitis since like the Kennedy administration, if not less than that. He's not well. His liver, he needs a liver transplant. He gets one. It doesn't take. He's working with Metallica during this time. Lars Ulrich is like super into Lou Reed because he was raised in like that. Wasn't Lars Ulrich raised on like some like Swedish sex compound or something? Like I thought he was like his dad was one of those like weird like we do not wear clothes, you know, like
I wouldn't surprise me. But
yeah, I think he was. I think he's from like a Swedish like art family, like kind of like the Skarsgårds, and they were like into Lou Reed, so he was like, "Oh, this is bucket list stuff." And they were all like, Metallica guys were like, "We'll do whatever you want. Like we're your backing band. You tell us what to do." So then Reed tells him what to do because he's working with this Brooklyn computer, you know, Calhoun guy, something Calhoun is doing all these weird computer things, and he's like, "Oh, we wrote some songs," and Metallica's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that'll work, I guess." And then they make the album, and they spend a long time working on it. It's like you can tell there was like a lot put into this. It was definitely Metallica had money to burn, and they could always tour if they want to make money. So, and their fans didn't like it, and then Lou Reed just didn't have enough of a fan base to make it sell. Yeah, I couldn't get into it. Maybe somebody can. It's definitely for the spectacle worth turning on because it sounds like how you'd think, because there's even a cover of Sweet Jane at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Metallica, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work, in my opinion. It's slow. Like they're slow. They need to play faster. But Reed probably can't play that fast at that point. Like that's kind of the problem, or like at least sing that fast because he's not healthy.
But this album isn't like melodic like that.
No,
it's much more noisier from Metallica, and that's why I think it lends itself well. Like I think Reed's lyrics on this are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Brandenburg Gate, Mistress Dread, Cheat on Me, Frustration, Dragon, Junior Dad. Like, yeah, I liked all those songs. Look, I understand why they did it. The collaboration seemed like unique, and Lou Reed probably felt like, oh, if Metallica works with me, I'm accepted into the mainstream. And if Metallica is like, oh, they're like, well, if Lou Reed works with us, then we're accepted into that like punk type of like, you know, like alternative industry. So, but like it just didn't really work out as far as like their sales.
Yeah.
But you know who really did like this album?
Yeah.
David Bowie.
Oh, he loved it.
He called it Lou Reed's best work.
Dude, he wanted to be friends with Lou Reed so bad for like ever. And he's just like, can we please just fucking chill, dude? Can we hang out? Like, I'll say I like the Metallica album. No, he probably did. He probably did like the Metallica album. I'm not saying he wasn't earnest, but he was like, dude, nobody likes this album. I love it, Lou. Can we be friends? And like, that's the type of guy David Bowie is. Like, he's just like really like for a guy that went through as many eras as he did. Like, most people are like, yeah, he's pretty fucking cool, dude. Like, he's just really cool. And by the way, I found that a short version of the Lester Bangs Rachel quote where he refers to Rachel as that creature a million times during the side. As he says, this is it's one of the most twisted pieces of art I've ever seen about Rachel. Like, he's like, this is what are you doing, Reed? Is this a statement? Like, oh my gosh.
He said something about she looked like if the album Berlin had been melted down and reformed into a human. And he's like, it depends what you think about the album Berlin, how you would think about that statement. But yeah, it was like, yeah, something like, yeah, Berlin, it's a very sad, depressing album. So I don't know. I mean, it's not a great compliment.
I was gonna say the album itself is I can't agree with you there, Lester, because I like that album too much.
Yeah, it's a good album, but I don't know if he was referring to the lyrics or how good, you know what I mean?
The content, the feel, the same feeling you get at the end of Berlin.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that's well, all right. You know what? R.I.P. Rachel. And that's and R.I.P. Lester Bangs. I mean, she outlived him a little bit, you know. So that's the way to go. So I mean, guys, any more? I got I don't know. He died, and it sucks. But yeah, I mean,
I did want to cover the there's that live album, Take No Prisoners.
Oh yes,
78. Yeah. So this was a wild live album. Like he just kind of, it was his band was like in a very like rock and roll, like happy mood. He was in a good mood. He was talking to the crowd, and he would just like start these monologues in the middle of songs, and the band would just be like going along with the melody, with the riff, and he would just like on Walk on the Wild Side, he would throw lines out like he would like light a cigarette, and he'd be like, I have no attitude without a cigarette. I'd rather have cancer than be a faggot. like just lines like that. And like, it's like going to bed with a brontosaurus. It's out of style, man. And like, he would just like throw those like lines that, in the way that he could say them with that, like, man, dude. But there's at one point, what song is it? Oh yeah, I think it still may be during Walk on the Wild Side. Where he just starts going after this music reviewer, Robert Christo.
Right.
And he just says, what does Robert Christo do in bed? Is he a toe fucker? And then he just starts going after this guy, starts making fun of him, like, oh, he wrote the Consumer's Guide to Rock. What a moron. Like Baroque rock. He studied it in the Ivy Leagues. He's like, fuck you. I don't need you to tell me I'm good. Like, and he just starts making fun of the critics, going after them. And then when it gets to the part where he's talking about Candy and Little Joe and Sugar Plum Fairy, he's just like, says Candy, like, I really miss Candy, and I didn't even get to know her that well. Like, I'm such a scam artist. She got leukemia from a plastic tit, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for her. Then don't fucking do that, man. We have health education. Don't fucking do that shit. And then he just talks to some person in the crowd, like, you look like a Democrat. You want to go to bed? And then he just talks about Little Joe, who was Joe D'Alessandro from The Factory, starred in a lot of Warhol films. And he said, Little Joe was an idiot. He had an IQ of 12.
Probably true. Probably true.
Like, he went to Italy to become a star, wouldn't fuck anyone. And like Sugar Plum Fairy, like, he just makes her living writing for Encyclopedia Britannica. She wouldn't come to see me if I was dying. Like, he just like talks shit about all these people and Walk on the Wild Side. So, I mean, the whole live album is great, and he's got some riffing like that the whole way through. But man, that live Walk on the Wild Side from Take No Prisoners is great. Like, I mean, it's great. Peak live Lou Reed. I mean, he's just having a good time. Doesn't give a fuck up there. And the other thing is on Street Hassle, we kind of skipped over the part, like the song Street Hassle. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like one of his most beautiful songs.
Yeah.
He describes it as he wanted to write a song that was a combination of Hubert Selby Jr., William S. Burroughs, and Raymond Chandler. And he gets it perfectly. And I think that's just like one of his most poetic, beautiful songs. Like the musical changes within the song are great. Like he goes in a few different directions, and even Bruce Springsteen is on the song in one part. He sings the last part, and I think he does like a paraphrasing of like the Tramps Like Us, We Were Born to Run, that he released the previous year. It's like Tramps Like Us. I forget what the rest of the lyric was, but it's a really great song. So anyone who wants to get to Lou Reed, I really think like Street Hassle is a really good way to go.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's great. I mean, I think Street Hassle is probably the one that nobody's talks about. Like, I mean, the Blue Mask has its own fan base, but like, does Street Hassle have its own like kind of like that's the GOAT fan base? Like, I don't think so. So it's definitely worth it. So. Well, guys, yeah, I mean, I highly recommend the biography too. It's really, really a fun read. It's a lot. There's a lot the Rachel stuff is unreal in there. It's out of control. It's definitely a life of insane rock and roll with like heroin and meth and drinking and fights and bridges being burned constantly. And it's great, and I'm glad because I added a lot more to my phone, a lot more Lou Reed to my phone than I had before. So it was that's what this is all about usually. So make sure you follow our guy Organized Meat. He's a great poster. He's been on the show a few times. We've covered a number of things, and we will be covering some Thomas Pynchon in the coming months, especially once that new Vineland adaptation.
Excited for that.
I know everybody's scared of it, but I'm like, dude, trust the plan.
Yeah, they're like, it has a black person in it. Like, is it going to be good? And I'm like,
well, and it's like, you guys are, you don't know what you guys are. People just love reacting to like Wes Anderson, like,
They're like, he's DEI now. Like, it's
he's married to Maya Rudolph. Yeah, it's like, I mean, like, it's not. It's just dumb, man. Like, I'm excited for that because again, is Thomas Pynchon for everybody? No, so maybe the story will repel some people, but I think Paul Thomas Anderson adapted Inherent Vice and did it wonderfully well, and I think he will do it with Vineland. So we'll be covering that on the Gain of Fiction Lab at some point later this year. So on that note, guys, everybody have a safe week. We will catch you guys next time.